Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the one, the only Road to Pro, brought to you in conjunction with EG Evolved Simulator Rigs and the one and only Hybrid Academy. My name is Stephen Koenig. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I hope you're just as excited as I am, because we're here at Imola, a circuit that is synonymous of making legends. It can make or break careers. It also houses the spirits of champions. And we are going to see it this evening with the Road to Pro. And honestly, I cannot wait to see how it all goes. All season long, we have watched drivers from AM, Gold, Silver, and Pro-Am fight it out to go into this championship. They have been fighting within their own little championship during the RaceFace GT3 season. Every point that they gained for every quickest lap time they've put in, for every time they've got into the front of the field, but also lost points for every time they got in trouble. This all housed into the current championship for the Road to Pro. It has been a build-up right until now, and I gotta say, I'm super excited to see how it all works out and where the drivers are going to be able to make or break their race here at Imola, and to run through the current format of what's going to happen before we take a look at Imola. While we've got some amazing shots on screen, let's go take a look. We got our first heat, which will have a select amount of drivers to go and battle it out. You'll have 10 drivers to go and battle it out to see whether they can move their way forward. It's a bit of a shootout contest. So, heat number 1 will have a 6-minute qualifying, a 20-minute race where only 5 drivers will progress forward. Going into heat 2, our next batch of drivers are going to have the same conditions. 6 minutes of qualifying, 20 minutes of racing, only 5 will progress into our final heat, which we are going to take the first 5 from the heat 1 and the first 5 from heat 2, put them all into a race. But if you've had a bad race, our judges out on circuit will also keep an eye, because we'll throw in not 1 but 2 wild cards, a second chance to drivers to go and move their way through into this race and be able to battle it out for the final heat, which will consist of a 1-lap quali per driver. It will have a 25-minute race, and with 12 drivers in total, it is going to be a race to the line. It's going to be a sprint of note here at Imola, and I can't wait to see how it all turns out. Now, you may be thinking, what's on the line here? Going to be joining up with the likes of Hybrid Academy? Well, yes, but that doesn't mean that the guys come in first place are going to be joined up with the team. No, the team have been taking a look at the progression of these drivers throughout last season's RaceFace, where they had the drivers go and slug it out and learn over the course of the 8 races. So they had 8 weeks of extensive training on 1, setting up your tire pressures, doing setups, getting to know your rig, how to fine-tune your rig, and how to better your racecraft. Not necessarily to become the fastest driver out there, but to be the consistent, safe driver out on the circuit and be able to push your limits. Now, this is going to be a very interesting thing, because we're not seeing the pros head out onto the circuit like we saw in the RaceFace series. No, these are giving light to our smaller drivers that have been doing considerably well. They have really progressed. And I mean, we've got a couple of names that people might know. So, taking through the list, we have got William Wentworth, Andre de Kock, we have got Ulrich Sichers, Anton Lunners, Arno Kraus, Charles Darden, Conrad Martin, David Farrell, Gavin Scruton. We got Graham Mole going to be heading out onto the circuit, Gregory Matthews, Jamie Rees, Johan Villiers, Leclerc Besson, all heading out onto the circuit, and you can't wait to see it. We've also got the likes of Werner Schumann that is going to be having a bit of a great time. So, while chatting about this, we're going to bring in one of the Hybrid Academy drivers to go and explain a little bit of how this was all put together. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause. Joining me in the commentary box is the one, the only Ryan Ottens from Hybrid Academy. Ryan, we have finally made it. It has been a long time, and we spoke a little bit earlier. You said you did not expect the turnout. You didn't expect the level of talent that was able to get fished out through the field of what was our AM drivers that have been progressing into the future pro drivers for South African esports.
Yeah, how's it, Stephen? Evening, everyone. And yeah, definitely. I mean, as we had a brief chat earlier, it's going to be tough to pick who's going to really progress through our Road to Pro program, because there are a lot more than we anticipated that are really upping their game and getting extremely fast. We've been watching their lap times, and some guys are touching on pro times already, so they have definitely been impressive.
Well, I've got to say, it's been rather interesting to see how drivers have really got to grips with it, and the whole program itself being something completely new to the racing scene, especially for the esports scene here in South Africa, having this bit of a trial by fire where the guys had to prove themselves. You know, we generally go into servers, we have to do 10 laps consistently, and there we go. That's where your grading process is. These drivers not only did that, but they had to go through extensive training through it all. Can you give us a bit of an insight of the training that these drivers had to go through to eventually reach this stage?
Yeah, so I mean, this was all initiated by Andries from EG Evolved, as this was sort of his brainchild, his thought, and he needed someone to run it for us, for him, and that's when he approached us, and we came together to do this. So this is a special event. This has no weight bearing on who we pick, and it was more just to showcase the AM and the Pro-Am drivers, as we felt that they don't get enough of the spotlight. You know, the pro guys are generally always getting the spotlight, and they always have the ability to race for money. You know, whether they can actually win that or not is two different things, but the fact that they're in a race for money just changes it a little bit. So we wanted to offer the guys that have seen it through over the last 8 weeks with our training and supported us in this initiative. We wanted to give them the opportunity to race for money and to let them have the spotlight for once. So that was where we got to and how we got to this stage here. And I hope everyone enjoys it. I hope the drivers enjoy it the most. I mean, it's all about them at the end of the day, and racing for 8,000 Rand, who can complain?
Well, I mean, that's it. You've let the cat out of the bag. There is prize money on the line. Come the final heat of the evening. We've got first place is going to walk away with 3,000 Rand. Second place, 2,000 Rand. Third place, 1,250 Rand. Fourth place, 850 Rand. Fifth gets 500 Rand. Sixth place gets 400 Rand. Plus, there's also an opportunity to join up with Hybrid Academy and EG Evolved with going further and really pushing the name forward. It's going to be a really, really exciting time. And I've got to ask, now moving on to the world of Imola, out of all circuits to pick out, some drivers like it, some drivers don't. And let's actually take a look at Imola, because this is a circuit that you can either win or lose. It might go in your favor, it might not go in your favor. So taking a look at the circuit as it stands, Imola out in Italy really shows off what it can do. Home of the legends. Now, the start-finish line in a little bit of a precarious place where you really got to get a great start heading into turn 1. Variante Tamburello, turn 1, turn 2 is a difficult one. You've got to ensure that you keep going, and that is where we see a lot of Constantina effects into Variante. Villeneuve is also one that you need to keep an eye out for before they hit the brakes hard into Tosa, where that's where it's going to be all about positioning. Then you get your drive up, move your way through. Aqua Morali, I do apologize, I always struggle with that one, is always a very difficult part of the circuit to get right, because track limits can be caught out before you head into the last bit of the chicane, where we do see cars skipping over the sausage curves, bouncing themselves around, and do lose a lot of traction. So it's all about utilizing your brakes and slowing your car down, gearing it right, putting yourself on the correct line. So using that knowledge that you've learned to really go through it before you make your way down to the bottom end of the section. This is all about getting the drive before you head onto Rivazza. And Rivazza 1, Rivazza 2 is all about keeping in that toe, really pulling yourself along and keep the drive all the way through. I mean, these are what we love going and seeing the guys do. They have to position themselves just right. They have to make sure that they move forward. They have to utilize everything that they've learned in what is going to be able to get them across the line. You guys have had to sit on the sidelines and you gave the guidance. Now it's all about them putting pen to paper, putting their hands on the steering wheel and going and showing what they can do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a little bit of method behind our madness of Imola. Reason being is Imola was the first round of our championship, and we purposefully did not give any training before round one. So, as I say, method in the madness, we wanted to be able to compare with the special race now how much these guys have improved and if they've improved at all. You know, this is what we're going to find out tonight. We've got a list of their quali laps, their race laps from round one of the championship, and it will be nice to see. And based on practice times, I've seen some good times, so we'll let it unfold as it does, but let's see. It will be nice to see who has gained and how much have they gained from a little bit of help. Why I say a little bit of help is we had 24 entrants into the Road to Pro. So there hasn't been a hell of a lot of one-on-one time as per se. We've been training a group. The cool thing is that next week we will be announcing the 4 guys that will join the EG Evolved by Hybrid Academy team. Those guys are really going to get the full house package, if we can call it that. They will be getting their share of an 80,000 Rand prize pool there, sponsored by EG Evolved. So I think that's probably one of the biggest sponsors in South African sim racing, and it's going to AM and Pro-Am guys, so it's awesome to see that. And those guys will be nurtured even further through the next season or 2, however long this may take. And the goal is to get those guys some proper one-on-one time going forward and get them into the pro division. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and let's hope we can do it.
Well, that's it. Keep an eye on the social media, ladies and gentlemen, and please take a look at the Hybrid Academy YouTube page. Go and hit subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. There's lots of incredible racing going on there, and if you're out here on RaceFace as well, hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell, so you get a bit of a mix of the commentary side and you get to see behind the scenes of the drivers. But while we're waiting for the servers to come online, there's actually someone I do want to bring into the commentary box, because, well, it's a voice I've only met at Rage, but it is someone that's really been turning the sim racing scene on its head, really came out with a proper bang and has really gotten behind it. So let's actually bring in Andries. And for anyone that doesn't know who Andries is, we're going to show him up on the screen. And I'd like to bring in Mr. EG Simulators himself. Andries, thank you so much for joining us. I see that Mike's all unmuted, but Andries, glad to have you here. What a turn of events. You've really gotten behind a massive project. This isn't the first time that you've been in the forefront of putting drivers right into the front and really elevating competition. You've also come in bringing all sorts of new technologies to the world of South Africa's sim racing. Now getting to see it all in action here at Imola tonight for the Road to Pro. How are you feeling?
Well, Stephen, thanks. Hi to everybody else online as well. It's an awesome privilege to be able to be here. Obviously, none of this would have been possible without the help from the guys at Hybrid. I mean, we sat down with a couple of beers, threw some ideas on the table, and yeah, the next thing just popped up. So I think this is a big learning for everybody, but for me, I'm proud to be able to be part of the whole sim racing community and the development specifically around the community. What I found in a short space of time that I did race, also in the same, amateur classes, essentially, was that you see a lot of people coming and going, and they going because they don't get the support, they don't see the progress, they don't feel motivated and driven. And I think what I try to do is to, at that level, find a way that we can get the guys really hyped up and be seen and become the pros that they should be.
Well, it always starts with your amateur drivers, your casual guys jumping in behind the wheel, whether they be on console or PC, to be able to go and have a bit of fun. And that's what it seems like EG Evolved has been all about from the start of the creation. Give us a bit of, for people that aren't too familiar of EG Evolved Simulator X, give us a bit of a background of who you are and the company itself leading up to this. So what is EG Evolved?
Well, this started out as a little side hustle. Essentially, I built my own wooden rig, pine wood, during the peak of lockdown, and it was really just to entertain myself and showcase some of that on some of the gaming forums. And people asked us to, well, can we not sell this to them? And we started essentially the business from there. Within 6 months, we sold something like 26 odd wooden rigs, and then our direction completely changed. I realized that the kind of people that we wanted to support is not your entry level guy necessarily, and it's people that really looking at pro level gear and rigs, and we started focusing on that. And I think the big step up last year was when we decided to go for the whole Moza ecosystem. And I think Moza was for us the first opportunity to bring in really high-end gear at really affordable prices. It really opens the ability for people to use gear to really improve their game. I remember clearly the day when Brian came and bought his R9 from me. I said, mark my words, you're going to improve your lap times. And
I disagreed. I will not even lie. I did disagree.
You did. And I remember 3 days later, I was sitting in George with Stein, who's now become my partner in importing all of this stuff, and we were sitting and drinking a nice white wine, and the phone rang, and Ryan told me, well, you wouldn't believe me, I've improved my lap times on at least 3 tracks that I've already been on with this new gear. So, a lot of people come and tell me that good gear do not necessarily make you faster. I think there's some truth to it, but I think it's proven that good gear really does give you that little bit more that you can milk and get a little bit better than what you would thought you would do. So, and that's what we're trying to do. And in the future, we're looking at building our brand ecosystem in terms of what we bring in. We want to become essentially the portal and the big supplier of high-end gear in this country. And yeah, the community is supporting us well, and because of the community that's supporting us, I'll be able to, essentially make dreams like this come true, where we can support, giving a little bit back to the community as well. And that's for me the big thing. It's become a big business now for us. It's a very good business, and that's the only reason why we're able to give back and support initiatives like this. But we need people like Hybrid that can support us as well. So, and I've always believed in collaboration. And you can, at the same time, when clients come in here and they want stuff, it's either good advice. Sometimes I tell them not to buy things because they may not need it. But at the same time, try and help where I can, where people find it very difficult to acquire some of the stuff that they need. So I always try and find a way to help and support where I can.
Oh no, even bringing in your new ecosystem, which has been the new Sim Magic stuff that has been coming into play as well. It's rather interesting, and it's good to see that guys are getting more involved. You're going for more of the affordable hobbyists that want to get involved, if I can put it that way. It's not, you've got your casuals, but it's more the hobbyists, the guys that are getting their rigs, building their own rigs, or even having an opportunity to go and do it. And I mean, taking a big step into forwarding the community in this respect of, okay, well, we're going to bite the bullet here. We're going to join up. We're going to really see what the drivers can do, and also give the drivers that aren't the pros, that aren't running at the front the whole time. You're talking about the guys that are just really racing their hearts out week after week, but they just need that one little edge to get them to the front.
Yeah, I think that was something that Andries and I discussed, and we said, without a community that's there to give you the small little tricks of the trade, you may never find yourself at the front or even just in a pro class, for argument's sake. And that was where this came on board, and it was a case of let's get them into the community. Let's sort of take their hand and get them the help they need. And the next great superstar could be sitting at home right now or on the rig right now, ready to qualify, which I see has just started. Just by the way, Clinic.
Yeah, no, we've just gotten in, but as
Andries, I think just from our side, from Hybrid Academy, and I would like to say a large part of the sim racing community of South Africa, I think this goes out to you guys at EG and Stain, and for what you do for the community. I mean, to see the amount of Mazda and rigs, your rigs out there and in people's houses is really, really cool, and I think it's a huge testament just to how well you guys are doing. So I think thank you to you guys from almost everyone that does sim racing in South Africa.
You're welcome. Maybe I can just add a bit. So some of the future stuff, we've already got approval to resell. We are looking at Asset Tech as well in the near future. That's already been signed. We just need to figure out the pricing model for that. We already have some motion platforms also that we have on board, PT actuators from also a Chinese brand, but very well tested and high-end gear. So we're looking at bringing some of that kind of stuff in as well. Some Magic is a bit of a tricky one, although we have the reseller there, and this is just maybe for some of those that wondered what happened. We were asked by some Magic to not showcase our products whilst it's still on pre-order. They don't like the pre-order status on pages, but nobody, it doesn't stop anybody to come and still order whatever they need. We will be placing probably an order towards the middle of this month, so we can try and land it by early next month. So yeah, we're not going to stop there. We are looking at so many different other brands, and it's interesting. We're becoming into a situation now where Next Level Racing, for instance, approached us to try and see if we can support them and bringing some of their products to the market as well. So it's a very peculiar situation that we're at, because I still have a day job as well, but this has become a big baby that really requires a lot of attention from a business point of view. But at the moment, as long as we're having fun and I'm enjoying this and I have a passion for this, it's easy to do this. But I really thank you guys for, supporting us. Without it, we mean nothing. We can be nothing. And I'm really happy that we can give something back and see the guys race and see the passion and all the feedback I'm getting from these guys, pictures. They brag about the lap times. It's awesome to get that feedback. I think that's exactly what we wanted, and this makes me really feel that we did achieve something here. So awesome. Thanks for the opportunity. Ryan and Stephen, thanks for hosting us, man.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on board, and I'm going to ask you the trickiest question before I let you guys go, and hopefully I'll get to chat to you guys heading into the final race, because I'd love to get your feedback after seeing it, as we've got qualifying underway for our first batch. Now, Andries, the biggest question I've got is, can you import talent? Because I'm missing plenty of it, and I need lots.
Nothing comes without effort. So, if you don't really have the talent, you need people like the hybrid guys that can really try and give you everything that they own and have in terms of experience, and I'm sure they can rub off a little bit, but nothing comes without actually spending the time behind the wheel and putting the effort in. So if you don't have the talent, fake it until you make it is my philosophy.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. And guys, sit back, enjoy, look forward to the racing going on for heat number 1. It's got our first batch out there. We got Sichers up in first place at 141.9 around this 4.9 kilometer circuit. We've got Gavin Scruton trying to chase him down, 142.8. William Wentworth followed by 142.9. So the guys are really starting to get on pace here. William Wentworth going in, landing up with an off track. But we know that qualifying can either help you or it can be a new challenge to claw your way through. And this is where the drivers are going to be. So looking forward to having a chat to you guys after the race and get a little bit more feedback to it.
Thank you, Stephen. Enjoy what you do, and we'll see you later.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Have fun, guys.
Yes.
Cheers. Well, just a bit of chatting with the guys is absolutely incredible. But as we said, Sicher's up in first place, 141.9 as the quickest lap time. Gavin Scruton trying to chase him down as quick as possible. And this is going to be a little bit tricky. AJ de Kock, though, jumping himself into second place using that 992 Porsche. Now having a lot of fun out there. The 992 GT3 Porsche really being one of the newer cars that's jumped up, much like the Ferrari that is out in front. Also have a Lamborghini drop in. And we cannot forget the McLaren, which is also out there. We got Zetzman out in it. Ludwig Zetzman, he's out in the McLaren and trying to put in a time as well. Just battling with those track limits at the moment. Leclerc Basson up into third place. Gavin Scruton into fourth. William Wentworth going and saying he's going to rather wait it out because it's the end of qualifying. He's in fifth place. Graham Moll in sixth. Seventh is Arno Kraus. Anton Lummers in eighth. Ishmael Domingo in ninth. And 10th is Ludwig Zetzman. Remember, we only taking 5 from this race. There is 2 wild cards, 1 from each heat that will be moved, that we'll only find out come the end of, well, heading into the final race. We'll know who those drivers are. So it is a 10 for this heat, 10 for the next. So 20 drivers are all going at it. 24 drivers are going at it. And it looks like Isham Domingo taking out first place. Sicher is trying everything he can. He's 0.1 up on his last lap time, losing a little bit of pace. Leclerc Basson also 0.1 up on his lap time. AJ de Kock trying to move forward. He's 0.1 up on his lap time. Can he get out of that third place? He's going to try his best, really burying the throttle into the floor. And across the line, he's taking third place. Sichers will be taking second place at the moment with a 41.922. But Domingo with that 41.3 really showing what he can do. Leclerc Basson coming across the line. He's holding fourth place. Gavin Scruton, who is currently 0.3 up on his last lap time. Can he carry the pace through? He's currently in sixth place. Anton Lummers being him. He manages to get ahead of Anton Lummers. So he's in fifth. Anton Lummers in sixth. William Wentworth in seventh. Graham Moll in eighth. Ninth Graham Moll, as we do have a bit of a change. But we're going to be heading to the race and seeing how it's all going through. So let's head back to the commentary box and we'll just take a look as we get ready to go. Big thank you once again to the sponsors for having us here, and it's going to be an absolutely great one. Also a big thank you to you guys for joining us for the racing. It's going to be an amazing feat, and what we're about to see is drivers really showcasing their talents this evening. So as you take a look at the field, all lined up in the EG Evolved Hybrid Academy color scheme, it's got to say, rather beautiful. I actually went and had a chat to the Hybrid Academy team. I said, these colors are just so amazing. The blue is a lot more vibrant. I actually enjoy it versus the darker blue. So this is where it's going to be interesting. So to you guys out there in the crowds, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on both the Hybrid Academy YouTube grandstands and the RaceFace grandstands, I want to see the support of who do you think is going to be able to get it out to the front, who's going to be able to be taking Heat 1. And I see there is support for Domingo to be out in the front. So this is going to be interesting. We've also got Reggie saying how many drivers? We've got 20 to 24 drivers. A couple of drivers unable to make it due to load shedding. But, as also mentioned, rubbing is racing, as long as you don't throw each other off in the dirt, because you've got to race hard. You've got to be really in it to go for the win and really stick it around this circuit. 4.9 kilometers of absolute brute force racing. And as it's been said, here we go with amazing, ready to rock and roll. So we're just waiting for the timer to run out, and then they will be going on to their warm-up lap, get some heat into the tires, get themselves ready, and then we will be racing 20 minutes. 5 drivers will progress, and this is going to be interesting because remember, what's on the line come the final heat is 3,000 Rand for first place, plus an opportunity to join in with the Hybrid Academy team. We heard that they will be selecting 4 drivers by the end of this program. So let's actually take a look at the grid as they maneuver their way around the circuit here at Imola. And I've got to say, I'm really looking forward to it. So on the road to pro, ladies and gentlemen, we have got Domingo out in first place. He's going to be followed by Sichers in second place, along with AJ de Kock. In third place, Leclerc Basson will be rounding out in fourth place. Then we've got Gavin Scroton, followed by Anton Lammers, William Wentworth, Arno Kraus, Graham Moll, and Ludwig Zitzman will be rounding out our field. 10 cars all starting to rock and roll. So, as it's being said by Jean-Ray Bertha, time to lick it and send it. And these are what the drivers are going to be doing around Imola and really showcasing legends. Now, bear in mind, Heat 2, we have got another set of drivers that will be keeping an eye on all the action that's going on here and seeing what their competition is going to be doing. This is utilizing everything that they have learned over the course of the RaceFace season. Not only has it come down to this, they have racked up the points on the Hybrid Academy's in-house Halo system. They have racked up the points that will be dictating how it all goes. So, as they maneuver their way around, we're taking a look. Graham Moll, and there's Ludwig Zitzman in 10th place. Couple of interesting cars out here. We've got a Mercedes, we've got a McLaren. The first time we're seeing McLaren actually coming up in competition of recent. A lot of people have been avoiding the McLaren. Domingo in the BMW looking to get a run up. Sickers and de Kock looking to go and move forward. They hoping to really charge it through. Basson, keep an eye on him. Gavin as well, he's a little bit further down, 5th place. Anton Lammers with that big Mercedes is hoping to utilize the power and also stability of the car over the curbs to be able to power his way through. William Wentworth, keep an eye on him as well. Arno Kraus, Graham Moll, and Ludwig Zitzman also are not going to be left out of this. Graham Darth Moll, as he's more commonly called by his friends, so it's good to see. This is why I think it's going to be really, really exciting. And I see Reginald getting asked, why is he not in this? Well, because Reggie's a pro. That's why he can go and talk about the stream and do racing at the same time. So no pros here. These are all Pro-Am gold and silver drivers. These are the guys that make up the field, our petrol heads looking to go and have a bit of fun. So lined up side by side as they make their way through. Now it's going to be one more corner, keeping an eye. So Jim, over to you on the grandstands to go and call us on green. And Tim, the cameraman, is back in action, ladies and gentlemen. So good luck, Tim. Don't catch any of the birds on the way through. But lined up, waiting for the flags, waiting for the lights. This is where the suspense kicks in. Turn 1 is where it's going to be make or break for these drivers. Sichers lining himself up. He's going to have the advantage going into turn 1 on the inside. There's green lights, 20 minutes, and away we go. Domingo off to a cracker of a start, moving to the middle of the circuit. AJ de Kock moving himself up onto the inside, trying to lock down early on. He has got Sichers on the outside. They maneuver their way through. It does look like Graham Moll managing to pick up a position as he gets ahead of Arno Kraus. Now everyone looking to get a little bit more of a charge. Slight bit of contact. Anton Lammers and Scruton going and having a little bit of a bump and barge. But de Kock getting onto the back of Sichers as quick as possible. Enrique not giving up just as yet, trying to get away. But Domingo legging it away from the group as quick as possible. Doesn't want to be involved in the battle. Basson now has got a problem. He's got Scruton right behind him. Gavin trying to look for the inside line. Comes over the crest, not able to do it. As they power their way through, goes around the outside. He's going to try and line himself up. This is going to be hard onto the brakes, just not able to make it through. Trying to utilize that Ferrari in terms of its successful ease of braking. It doesn't have too much unstable ground when you hit onto the brakes of it ever since its recent update and its new car coming in. It does look like De Kock in the Porsche doing everything he can, trying to keep in tow of Seckers, but not able to keep too close. But at the moment, Domingo opening up the gap. He is now 1.8 seconds ahead of the likes of Unrik. AJ De Kock trying to chase him down, 0.4 seconds, sliding himself around. Basson has got Gavin right behind him and has got Anton Lommers along with William Wentworth getting into the tow. He's pulling Graham Mole around and on across along with Ludwig Zetzman trying to just keep into the tow at this moment, but that McLaren just not having the legs to make his way through. So as we're watching a bit of a battle going on, Basson managing to keep ahead of Scruton. Lummers dealing with William Wentworth, constantly hounding him. The wild man doing everything he can, trying to get a pass Anton Lummers at the moment, who is making it extremely difficult and showing that big Mercedes is going nowhere, parking it in the middle of the circuit and utilizing an old karting maneuver. You stop in the middle of the circuit, you're having to let the drivers pick left or right to get past. Now William Wentworth is in the slipstream, trying to pull himself along, trying to mimic as much as possible. Does get a little bit unsteady into the braking zone as he clips the dirt a little bit, and that does lose him a little bit of time. Manages to get the drive on Anton though. Anton though is closing the door on him, ensuring that that is not going to happen. That allows Graham Mole to slowly close up on him. Anton not getting the drive that he needed out of the corner, now needing to really stand on the anchors as late as possible. That is really turning into a difficult. Now you would also notice the drivers are going and turning into a very difficult situation because they are testing the limits of where they can go. Because it is a 20-minute race, penalties like drive-throughs will end your race in a hurry. But if you're not pushing those limits, you will lose out a huge amount of time because every single one of these drivers are chomping at the bit to go and prove themselves here and now for the road to pro, our future in sim racing esports in terms of getting our AM drivers all the way into the pro divisions. Domingo out in front is showing that he is a pro at the moment, 2.3 seconds ahead of Seckers. And I've got to say, Domingo, very few times I actually get to talk about these drivers because they generally in the other categories, they in the silver, gold and pro-am, which unfortunately are not being broadcasted at the moment, but getting to see the guys really slug it out is really great. William Wentworth has got a problem. He's got Graham Mole right behind him. Anton Lummers still defending like no tomorrow at this point as they power their way through. But it does look like William Wentworth has got the drive coming up the hill. 0.4 of a second behind Anton Lummers, keeping it all together. Graham Mole constantly sitting, waiting for his move. But at the moment, I just want to point out that Unrik Seckers in second place has managed to do the fastest lap time of the race, a 1:42.0, which is quicker than Domingo. Graham Scruton has been battling out with Basson, but it does look like Graham Mole managing to get ahead of William Wentworth. So let's see if we can jump back a couple of seconds and see how this pass all came to be. William Wentworth in the Ferrari, just ahead of Graham Mole in the Porsche. Graham Mole trying to line himself up, getting a little bit more of a drive. William Wentworth going off circuit though, outbraking himself, losing out of position. He was able to get it going before Arno Kraus could get past him, but Graham Mole just keeping consistent pressure, managed to go and work his way through. Anton Lummers is going to be wiping the sweat off his brow at the moment, and now it is going to be a constant charge because Graham Mole's going to try and close him down. Take a look at Arno Kraus, locking it on the inside, trying his best, backs out of it. You can see just adjusts his line to try and get back onto the racing line as William Wentworth is keeping ahead. Ludwig Zetzman, though, do not count him out. He's 1.6 seconds behind, but that McLaren is no easy car to drive. And I gotta say, absolutely fantastic to see someone going and flipping the lid a little bit and adding a McLaren. I know there's a couple of drivers that are glad to see the brand out there and being represented, especially in a race that's generally been Ferrari, BMW. So let's go through the grid at the moment. 13 minutes and 56 seconds to go. We have got Isham Domingo in first place. 2.3 seconds behind is Enric Sikkers, AJ de Kock, along with Leclerc Basson, Gavin Skirton, Anton Lammers, Graham Mole, William Wentworth, Arno Kraus, and Ludwig Zitzmann are rounding out our grid at the moment as they put the power round. And a couple of the guys going from the grandstand, going and identifying some true matter of facts of life, that this is not a easy circuit to get past. This is all about putting the pressure onto the drivers and ensuring that you play a little bit of follow leader. Keep an eye in the mirrors. Keep the guy looking left and right, looking away from that racing line. Miss the apex. Take your eyes off the road and you run into a problem. And it's coming from our pro drivers like Jean-Ray Bertha going and pointing out that it is a difficult circuit, and one circuit that if you can go and nail down, you'll actually do well in your sim racing career. It's one of these ones, it's much like the Nordschleife circuit. If you can deal with Nordschleife and even the Nordschleife 24-hour, which combined with the Nürburgring, with 178 corners, if I'm correct, they will be battling their way through on that. If you can get that sorted, you can keep that consistent, you can handle it anywhere. And that's what's being shown here at the moment. So far, though, lap times are starting to come down. Isham Domingo doing a 1:41.9 as his quickest lap time. Unric going with a 1:41.7 as his quickest lap time. Last lap time was a 1:41.7, where Isham Domingo's last lap time was a 1:41.6. But, caveat, he went off track, so that didn't count. And that's where the warning's coming in, because you may be taking a little bit too much curb, and Jim will come over the radio and let you know in the best way possible that you may run into some difficulties a bit further down the road. De Kock in third place, also 1:41.954 as his best time. Basson 1:42.1 is his best lap time. Gavin Skirton a 1:41.2.8. Anton Lammers with a 1:43.1. Graham Mole with a 1:42.7 as his quick lap time, and that's a 7:65, which is closer to Enric Sikkers, and does show something interesting because the Porsches seem to be a little bit more hooked up around the circuit. They're a little bit better, and a lot of drivers say that you either hit the sweet spot with the Porsche or you land up in the dirt, and that's where the guys are going to be working it out. William Wentworth doing a 1:43 as his quickest lap time. 1:43.1. Arno Kraus with a 1:43.7, and Ludwig doing a 1:43.9 as his quickest lap time. So he is pushing as hard as he can to try and close down. Graham Mole, though, trying to go onto the back of Anton Lammers, does lose out a little bit of drive. I think he closed up on him, but just lost out. So let's actually see if we can go back just a couple of seconds and go on board with him as he goes and travels it through. So Graham Mole, as you can see, right onto the back of the big Mercedes of Anton. Anton now trying everything he can. Watch for the brake marker. And just able to get a little bit. Oh, gets a little bit of a kick out. Slides the car down. Has to back it into first gear to get himself going. But loses out the drive as they make their way through. So definitely that little bit of tail happy moment does make it a little bit interesting. So he's going to have to try and close down. Anton Lammers, though, is soaking up the pressure at this point, while Graham Mole is just laying it on like there's no tomorrow at this point. Basson trying to go after De Kock. That is fourth and third at the moment, with De Kock in third place, losing a little bit of drive, and that's allowing Basson to go and close down the distance. The Ferrari starting to become more and more of a problem for the likes of De Kock. At the moment, though, the drivers that will be going through is Isham Domingo, Enric Sikkers, AJ De Kock, Leclerc Basson, Gavin Skirton. They will be moving on from round one into the final round for this heat, so they are really on a hard charge. Anton Lammers, who is 4.6 seconds away from Gavin, is in the fallout zone, along with Graham Mole chasing him down. William Wentworth, Arno Kraus, and Ludwig Zetzman are not going to be progressing forward at this rate. They really got to step it up if they want to try and catch our top 5. With only 9 minutes to go, though, it is going to be a race of note, down to the wire. So let's see how it's all going to turn out. But the closest battle going on is Anton Lammers and Graham Mole. They have really been at a consistent effort against one another. Graham Mole managing to close down under braking, the Porsche being a little bit easier and carries momentum through, but does have that lift-off oversteer if he gets a little bit too close, gets a bit of error wash throwing in, and Anton Lammers is making sure that that Mercedes is as wide as can be, and is really trying to do everything he can to ensure that the Mercedes locks it down. Graham Mole taking a little bit too much curb. It does look like Anton Lammers, though, taking far less curb on that, and now losing out that little bit of time. That's allowed Graham Mole to get into the toe, now pulling himself along, trying everything he can to close the distance at this point. And this is going to be a monster charge for Graham as he needs to get past and then try and close down a nearly 5-second gap to get into that top 5, where Anton Lammers is not worrying about what's ahead of him. He's worrying about what's behind him at the moment, because that Porsche is in the mirrors, making life a little bit more difficult as they power their way through. You can see going a little bit later every single time. Graham Mole trying to go a little bit later on the brakes, closing down the distance. He was actually quicker than his last lap time. That was his best sector when he locked it all together, as he really pushes as hard as he can. There's some Domingo doing in a 1:41.4 as his quickest lap time, putting him the fastest on the circuit so far. So he is really showing off what he can do to try and lock down that first place in an almighty charge. But these two over here, by far, are turning into one heck of a race, as Anton Lammers soaking up the pressure. Graham Mole constantly putting the pressure onto the back of him as they fight their way through. And Tim just going and reshuffling the cameras. You can see how much the Porsche is closing the distance, but just not able to get it right. Every time he gets a little bit closer, loses that error on the front, and that does cost him. But that is allowing this man to get a little bit closer. Old wild William Wentworth himself now making his charge, only 1.8 seconds behind. Basson going after De Kock is 1.5 seconds. So as it stands, our positioning is some Domingo in first place. And then he's got a 3.6 second gap to Heinrich Sichers, along with AJ De Kock, Leclerc Basson, Gavin Skirton, Anton Lammers, Graham Mole, William Wentworth, Arno Kraus, and Ludwig Zetzman rounding out our 10-car field for our first batch. Remember, we have got 2 batches that are going to be going out. We have got our first batch, our second batch, and with only the top 5, and we'll have 2 wild cards chosen by our judges that will be saying you guys will have a second chance to go and fight it out. Basically, you've been revived in terms of, if you play a lot of Call of Duty and that's your revival right there. That's just your second chance at life and second chance to show what you can do. And these drivers not only are going to be fighting it out for that second chance, but also to ensure they're within the top 5, to be a confirmed entrant into that final race, and for the massive prizes that are on the cards. Brought to you by EG, Evolve, Simulator Rigs, and Hybrid Academy. Big thank you to all our sponsors that have been putting this, along with RaceFace, who's been supplying putting on the servers, which is there. So it's absolutely incredible to see. But as our drivers really trying to stick it all together, only moments left of the race, 4 minutes and 53 seconds. Graham Mole trying to close up the distance, managed to close up through Variante. Is going to be the make or break for him as they make their way around. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, as the drivers are going to have to try and figure out what's going to work out for as they get a little bit more of a run. Now it is all Graham Mole versus Lammers at the moment, as the drivers are going to figure out what's going to work for them heading in to Veriante Basa. Anton Lammers just managing to keep the distance and maintaining that 0.8 seconds, but losing out comes to cornering. The Mercedes just not having the same braking. And what on earth happened? Gavin Skirton has fallen out. Gavin has fallen out. He has disconnected. Gavin Skirton has disconnected, and that has flipped it on its head, ladies and gentlemen, because now it has changed who is where, because Issam Domingo is in first place. Then we have got Sikhers in second. Third place, AJ de Kock, Leclerc Basson. Anton Lammers is in that top 5. Graham Mole is just sitting out of it at the moment. He is on the charge. He's on the cusp of reaching out for it. William Wentworth is in 7th, has just seen this and is going, all right, well, I got 3 minutes. I got to capitalize on this. I really got to go. Arno Kraus and along with Ludwig Zetzman have been really going for their charge. So this is going to be an interesting one. But the race to keep an eye out for is these two, Anton Lammers and Graham Mole. We have been watching them all race. They have been the closest, but Gavin, with an unfortunate disconnect, has thrown him out of the race and has now given Anton Lammers the chance to go and finish in that top 5, which will secure his position into the final heat. Graham Mole, though, is going to try and dethrone that. He's 1.3 seconds behind Anton Lammers and still trying to close down the distance at this point. It is turning into a monstrous run, but at the moment, out in first place, having a really great one. I've got to say, sliding the BMW around. We don't get to see that too often, especially with the M4 GT3. It's just really showing off what it can do. Domingo having a great one. William Wentworth going a little bit off circuit. He gets himself back on, but that does allow Arno Kraus to start closing. Sikhers in second place, along with AJ de Kock in third. Leclerc Basson in fourth place. Anton Lammers, the lone Mercedes, showing what he can do. Graham Mole doing everything he can to close down the distance, but is starting to lose a bit of spacing to him, 1.5 seconds. Then you got William Wentworth, who's now gone from focusing on what's ahead of him to focusing on what's behind him as they maneuver their way around the course, as he's got Arno Kraus right behind him. Arno is on a monstrous charge and is 0.8 of a second behind and is really trying to close the distance. William Wentworth has now got to go and hit the panic button at this point. He really needs to try and find that extra bit in the Ferrari to keep ahead of Arno, who's got the bit between his teeth, trying to close down the distance, going and braking middle of the corner just to try and get a little bit more rotation out of that BMW. And as we heard from Jim, that our leader, Issam Domingo, is on his final lap, 3.8 seconds ahead of Ulrich Sichers, along with AJ de Kock in third place. Leclerc Basson has now come across. He's on his last lap. Anton Lammers is now nearly 1.8 to 1.9 seconds ahead of Graham Mole. William Wentworth managing to just get 1 second away from Arno Kraus. And Ludwig Zetzman in ninth place. Unfortunately, Gavin just going and losing out that little bit with the disconnect, as now actually given an advantage to his fellow drivers. I know it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But it does count as a mechanical failure when things just fall away. So now it is on a monstrous charge for our drivers. Closest battle though, Anton Lammers, Graham Mole, William Wentworth and Arno Kraus, currently in 1.5 seconds of one another. But our first place man, who has been on a monstrous charge, Issam Domingo, from start to finish at this point, he's got a couple of corners to go, has been leading out with a absolutely monstrous run to the line. And I've got to give it up for Domingo. Not many times do I get to commentate on his races, and I am thankful to actually be going and seeing outs, because I'm looking at these lap times and going, well, buddy, I think what you've learned through the Hybrid Academy means that you're going to be on your road to pro, as Issam Domingo taking first place for the first batch. Second is Ulrich Sichers. AJ de Kock will be taking 3rd place. Lakuba Son will be taking 4th place. 5th place, and rounding out our group 1 that is heading into the final race is Anton Lammers. Graham Mole in 6th place, a triumphant fight, but unfortunately just didn't have it right to the end. William Wentworth, after falling out, going and outbreaking himself, managing to lock in that 7th position and will be looking for that wildcard entry. Arno Kraus and Ludwig Zitzman is running out our field with Gavin Skirton. So, and, whoa, William Wentworth with it. Very interesting disconnect. So, as our drivers make their way around, we are going to be looking at what's next. We're going to be moving on to our Heat 2, which is our 2nd batch that will be going out there. But Domingo putting in that incredible lap time, managing to lock down 1st place, along with Sikhers, AJ de Kock, Luku Basson, Anton Lammers going and rounding out our 5. So this has been really, really interesting to see for our drivers and how they had to push it all the way to the limit of what's needed to be done here at Imola for the Road to Pro, brought to you by EG Evolved, Simulator Rigs, Hybrid Academy, and RaceFace. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be moving into Heat 2, our 2nd batch. Lap time to beat, though, is going to be a 1:41.472 as the quickest lap time. That was a legal lap time, all right? Not one that's you've gone bailing off and cut half the circuit. So that's what the drivers are going to be keeping a very close eye on. And with this all getting to it, we've also going to be heading into our final heat of the evening, where the drivers will be pushing that little bit more to figure out what's going to be the charge to it. Because our final heat will be 1 lap, 25 minutes, 10 drivers, 2 wildcards that will be selected by our judges. Now, I don't even know who the wildcards are. I want to know. I would like to know. Maybe I will get a bit of an idea of who would like to give me an idea on that one. But while we're talking about that, I'm going to see if we can bring in Andries to just come out and have a chat. So let's bring Andries in. Andries from EG Evolved, you just saw heat number 1, some competitive racing, some competitive times. Is that what you expected from our AM drivers, our gold, silver, pro-am drivers, all fighting it out right to the line?
Well, I think if we didn't see this kind of times, then we did something wrong along the line. So it's exciting to see how these guys really managed to up the game. Those are very, very fast times. I personally did a couple of races in the past, LFM. Most people raced there before I joined RaceFace, and these times were the times that you had to push even in the lower classes.
No, it's absolutely incredible, and just taking a look at the level of competition, the guys really going and showing off what they can do. The unfortunate having that disconnect, it counts as a mechanical failure in real world motorsport. You can have your gearbox go out, but that really turned things on its head for Anton Lammers, who had Graham Mole chasing him down. They were moved into that top 5. I mean, those are moments that you sit with your heart in your throat. You go out to the driver of, it's a shame to see it happen, but at the same time, if you're the driver that's trying to capitalize on everything, this is, well, it's been handed to you. Now you got to make the best of what you can do. And with the wild cards going to be a pick. Now, I've got to ask, we don't have choice of the wild cards. You and I, we've pretty much left in the lurch for this one. But if you had to pick a driver out of our first batch, who would you think?
Man, it's always difficult. I don't know. It's everybody's got a chance here. I don't know. You tell me, what would be your favorite?
Ooh, I don't know. There was some impressive racing all the way around.
What impressed me? You know what impressed me? It's the fact that these guys really have a good level of racecraft in them. When it was still tight in the beginning, there was nothing in it. These guys kept it clean. It was tight, but they kept it clean, and this is what I'd like to see. I think a lot of people don't want to race these amateur classes really because it's unruly in there, and it makes it unnecessary, unpleasant. And I think what we saw here is these guys kept it clean right from Domingo right to the bottom. So it's difficult for me to say. I don't know. It's an open field. I'd rather not pick one.
That's you'd rather just see. I mean, it's nail biting stuff. But now we're moving on to Heat 2, and this is going to be interesting. So I'm going to leave you be so you can go and see the racing for Heat 2, and well, have a chat to you afterwards. But also joining in the commentary box is the one, the only, legendary Daniel Rowe, who is one of the big names of the Hybrid Academy team, and also a multinational champion in real world racing. I'm bringing it up, but in sim racing, you've also been racing against these guys, really pushing the boundaries. Your thoughts into this so far? Some very, very competitive times being put in. Heat number 1 was a very interesting one. Taking a look, though, we have got Werner Skuman. He's out in first place. Gregory Matthews in second. We've got Jean Viviers in third place, Dave Farrell, Jamie Rees, Tiernas Bertha, Conrad Martin, Charles Deeden, Peter Solomon. These are drivers you don't get to see too often that are out on the circuit with the pro category, but seeing what the AM categories have and the level that these drivers have come through is just impressive. To see the times that they're putting in as a pro esports driver yourself, do you think we have future champions here? Do you think your crown may be taken away?
Hi there, Steve, and welcome to all the others that are watching. Yeah, I mean, these guys have made huge steps forward from when we started this program. I mean, it's thanks to a lot of the guys from Hybrid, specifically Ryan Bago, Justin Lotus, have put in a lot of effort in behind the scenes, and a lot of training has gone into this program. And thanks to Andries for allowing us to do this and share his vision and passion to give back to the community. And I think we witnessing some awesome stuff by all these drivers that have made such massive improvements, and setting some pretty decent lap times on quite a difficult circuit as well.
Well, I've got to ask. I mean, you're a pro driver. You've always been at the forefront of pushing the boundaries. And with looking at the lap times, the guys getting into, like we've got Jamie Rees now, he's done a 41.8 as his quickest lap time. Conrad Martin jumping in with a 142.2, and this is part of their first flying laps. Well, heading in towards the end of qualifying. I mean, these times, compared to you and what your racing is in terms of the pro division, these are very, very close to what we see towards the middle of the grid of pros, and these are drivers that started out in the AM where it takes nearly 2 minutes to get around the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, they often when we're doing training or we set some lap times ourselves as well, they're about just a second off the pace or within a second, and that's, like you said, mid-pack in pro sometimes, or at least in the top 20. So yeah, the guys are showing some solid stuff, and it shows what can do to be around some faster guys, and what a competition like this can do to help you to push yourself to improve.
Now, I've got to ask, is there a trick to Imola that maybe you can part a little bit of advice to everyone out there, a trick that Imola that you can gain that little bit of time? As we see, Jamie Rees is actually 0.6 up on his last lap time. This will come across the line, put him into first place, a 141.2, which is one of the quickest lap times we've seen so far. Is there a trick to Imola that you feel that is going to really show a driver able to keep up the pace, or do you think it's all about just keeping a cool, consistent head?
I mean, the the trick to this track is just keeping your momentum, pushing the limits, but keeping your lines right at the same time. And momentum is key. And getting that last sector right, I think that's the most difficult part about this track. Most of the guys tend to get sector 1 and 2 pretty well, but from the training side, we noticed that they were losing most of their time in the last sector. So I think it's all about the last sector on this track. If you can hook it up, then and you have a decent first and second sector, you're going to have a decent lap.
Well, I mean, it's all about controlling you're doing a bit of trail braking and really managing it, especially with more of your mid-engines, trying to control the rotation. As we see, Turnus Bertha is actually 0.7 up on his last lap time. Jamie Rees taking first place at the moment. Werner Skuman in second place. Conrad Martin currently in third, 0.2 up on his last lap time. He's trying to get a little bit closer to the likes of Werner Skuman at the moment. Charles Didden in fourth place. Dave Farrell in fifth. We got Jean Viviers, who's coming across the line. He's going 0.5 on his last lap time. I mean, these are little things that you tend to forget about. Trail braking. It's not just slam on the anchors, go to 100%, then go to 0. It's actually modulating your braking, modulating your throttle input to ensure you're not lighting up the wheels, locking it up, or even going so fast down the gears that you're actually locking the diff up. These are little things that the drivers also need to be aware of, and that's what the training has been about as we see the end of qualifying, and we will be taking a look at who is in what positioning. But I mean, from your side, what has been the fundamental change for the drivers? What has been an exciting part as you as a pro driver to see young upstarts like what we've got here really showing off what they can do? And it's been an all season long process. It's been lots of training, it's been lots of hours, lots of group sessions, just trying to get it 100%. What was the standout for you throughout this entire process?
No real standout for me generally. It's just it's amazing how much I think we learn for ourselves doing this program. And I mean, I guess it's the first time we've done this, so we get to see what sort of training sort of techniques help the guys most, which will help us going forward. And it's just been nice to see the progression that the guys make, especially if they make the effort to attend every session, really ask for advice whenever they feel they need to, and put in the time. Just shows you how far you can get. And I mean, we can see it in the stats when Justin pulls up all his statisticals.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that gets caught out by that.
All his statistics are they show everything, and I mean, we can see there's certain drivers that make the biggest jumps. I think we've learned a lot, and we've seen how just putting in time and making the effort makes the difference. I mean, it comes, we can do so much, but the majority of it comes from you.
Well, I mean, if we take a look at it, it's not about having the best gear in the world. It's not about having, gear does help depending on what you're going for. But also at the same time, it's about consistent effort going through. But I mean, let's take a look at who's starting where for our next group. We've got Jamie Rees up in first place in the BMW. He's got Werner Skuman chasing him down in the Ferrari. Conrad Martin in the Mercedes. Charles Dodden in fourth place. Then we've got Dave Farrell, Jean Viviers in sixth place. Then we've got Turnus Bertha, Gregory Matthews, and Peter Solomon rounding out our field. I mean, these are drivers that's been really clawing their way through. As you said, you pull up all the statistics into it. And one of the things that has been really prominent about the whole process is it doesn't matter if you're the fastest, it doesn't matter if you're the slowest. It's a matter of consistency, progression, taking what you've learned and putting it into practice. And that's what we saw in the RaceFace season, where it came down to just put in that effort, really go for the gap, but maintaining a consistent time. I mean, these are 20-minute sprint races, so it's low fuel, high tire wear, but the drivers are having to leave it all out on the line, but be smart about their positioning, because if you go and land up heading onto the main straight in first place and you've got a car 0.5 seconds, I mean, you had this, where the guys now are in your slipstream, come turn one, they've got all the advantage to dive up on the inside. You won't be able to fight it because they gain that extra 5 kilometers of being in that slipstream. So you got to think about your track positioning and where you got to be. And these are all things that have been passed on, taught, and worked on throughout the entire program. And well, I can't wait to see how it's all going to go. But before we moving on to the start of the race, before we're going to have Jim, I'm going to ask what everyone's been asking, and that is, who's the wild card for round number 1? Are we going to get the hint, or are we going to have to just find out for the next race coming up?
I think we're going to have to find out.
Oh, see, this,
but I'm sure
to me again.
we're going to have to find out. We don't know yet. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these guys are probably feeling some nerves now. At this point, you know, in races like this where there's knockout, only a certain amount go through, and the fact that the wild card is unknown as well. This is where the nerves are. So we may see some mistakes from some guys, and I mean let's see what happens.
It's all or nothing as we're getting ready for green. 70 kilometers an hour. Get yourselves ready. Jamie Rees in first place. Werner Skuman in second place. Lined up. Wait for Jim to call green as we look from Tim in the helicopter as they cross the line. Waiting for it. And green light go. Jamie Rees getting a little bit of a jump. Werner Skuman dropping into second place, but it does look like Conrad Martin in the Mercedes getting the jump on the inside, trying to lock it down. Charles going and having a little bit of a difficult time. One of the Ferraris going off. I think that was Werner Skuman that went off, and now rejoining up in fourth place, and had a little bit of a tough run into turn 1. But a little bit of a dirt now, having to try and fight his way through. He's jumped his position back into third. Dave Farrell right behind him. You've got Charles Dennon doing everything he can to close down the gap. Jean Vivier is getting pushed out wide as he's got Gregory Matthews taking the McLaren to the fight and really charging up on the inside. Going for the likes, Jean having to go a little bit late on the brakes, closes the door, and there's a bit of contact between the two. That's allowed the likes of Tienes Bertha and Peter Solomon to go around. Gregory Matthews and Jean Viviers not having a fun time in that, and losing out some huge amount of pace. But back up to the front though, Werner Skuman onto the back of the likes of Conrad Martin. Conrad making it incredibly fast paced. Werner Skuman doing everything he can to try and close it down. He's got Dave right behind him in the slipstream. Now it's heading into the final 2 corners, and this is where it's all about getting onto the brakes a little bit later. Brakes have warmed up, tires have warmed up, and dives for the inside. Took a lunge, and the door was just unfortunately closing a little bit far. Tienes Bertha, though, saying thank you very much, along with Peter Solomon, because they started at the back of the field and have gained 2 going 4 positions from the start of the race. I mean, we talk about taking dives, we talk about really pushing the limits, but there is moments where you're just not getting your foot in as far enough as you need to be. And that's what we're seeing here. A couple of the guys just going that little bit too far. But at the moment, Jamie Rees out in first place is managing to open up a 2.6 second gap to Conrad Martin in the Mercedes. with Werner Skuman chasing him down in the Ferrari for third place. Fourth is Tiernis Bertha, and Peter Solomon in fifth place has got Charles Dodin right behind him. Charles trying everything he can to close down the distance. He's currently lying in sixth place, is in the knockout zone at the moment. So let's see what he will be able to do as he tries to close down on Peter Solomon at the start. But, I mean, Daniel, these are the type of things where if you can just be patient, if you can just wait it out, maybe, just maybe, guys ahead of you make those mistakes and you're able to move up, such as what Tiernis Bertha and Peter Solomon did. They waited for the opportunity and managed to work their way past any carnage that went on ahead of him. It's a bit of a gambling game because you can lose out a lot of drive, but at the same time, it does come into play as an advantage.
Yeah, I think Tiernis will be smiling there. He got very lucky. They just opened the door. I think a third car also got very unlucky, had nowhere to go and got stuck. So yeah, Tiernis is going to be smiling in that fourth place, just needs to keep it together. And yeah, Darden is about to pull an attack on Solomon. So
Darden doing everything he
let's
can,
see.
gets into the slipstream, now trying to tuck himself in nice and neat, not to show his hand just as yet. Does look like Solomon's got to defend the inside line, moves out and forces Charles to go around the long way, and the sideways action hits the brakes. Oh, and Peter Solomon was just fishtailing it. Charles got caught out in the mix. That's allowed Dave to get past. Dave saying thank you very much. And also looks like Jean getting side by side, managing to get past Peter Solomon and saying thank you, I will move up. But Dave narrowly missing out. I mean, this is also a thing where unfortunately Charles was just too close in that fight and wasn't able to go and get ahead or try, but he really stood on the brakes. He did everything that he possibly could do, but Solomon fishtailing all over the circuit left him no room to it. But now it is the fight back, because there is 15 minutes and 29 seconds of the race until you have crossed the checkered line, the checkered flag, until you have made it here at the Road to Pro. Whether you have the highs and lows of on the Road to Pro, that's what the drivers are experiencing. And it's all about taking what was given to you and turning it into a positive situation. And no, every single driver that's experiencing all sorts of weird and wonderfuls are landing up with a bit of a learning curve to this. But take a look, fifth place, Dave Farrell got a 5-second penalty put on him. And that is going to impact him big time, because he's only 1.8 seconds away from Viviers. And Peter Solomon's also close, along with Charles. So that would drop him down into 8th place at the moment.
Yeah, he's going to need to pull finger here and see if he can pull a 5-second gap. But on a side note, we've got some insight as to who the wild card is for the first wild card is. And I think we'll leave that to the end of this race.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I love to hear it. But Daniel, you always left me hanging on the fence. I mean, whether it's at the real track or on the virtual, you always leave me waiting for that little bit of a story that goes on. One day I'll crack it.
We give the limelight to these guys for now. Let's see if Farrell can pull that gap. But so far we do have one wild card. We will have another one from this race. So anything can happen.
Well, Conrad Martin has got Werner Skuman all over the back of him. Werner Skuman really tucking in behind and trying to hustle the Mercedes along. It does look like the Ferrari is able to get a little bit more of a drive, gives a bit of a flash to say, listen, instead of us fighting with one another, let's try and work together to close down the distance on Jamie Rees, who's managed to pull a 5.4 second gap. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, he's checked out completely.
He's
checked out.
5.4 seconds is not an easy thing to do. And, well...
He's putting it all together today where it counts. And he's doing a fantastic job. So credit to him. 41.6 race pace. Good performance.
Let's see how it's going to go. But let's take a look. This was Gregory Matthews who landed up having a run with Dave Farrell. Dave trying everything he can to get a little bit more of a run. Gregory Matthews, though, trying to close down the distance, has been a little bit away, but it does look like Dave makes a little bit of a hash in through the chicane, side by side, and Gregory Matthews having a little bit more pace out of the chicane, managing to straight line it a bit, now heading into the Variante. Gets past Dave going and giving a bit of room, but it does look like we got another car that went off just ahead, and that is Peter Solomon. Peter Solomon going and missing his brake marker. Now it's got a problem. Gregory Matthews diving up on the inside is trying to lock it down. Solomon having to relinquish the position. Now Dave is all over the back of him, and Dave is really pushing as hard as he can to close down the distance. Dives up on the inside, not able to make it stick. Solomon just managing to get ahead, but taking a look up at the front, we got Werner Skuman, who is right onto the back of Conrad Martin. Conrad Martin, who's doing everything he can, going to the middle of the circuit, going defensive as possible, making that Mercedes as wide as possible, running over the chicane. Got to be so careful not to go and get track limits. Has got Werner Skuman right onto the back of him, and Werner is not letting up the pressure, but right behind in fourth place is Tennis Bertha. He's sitting and waiting for an opportunity. Then you got Jean Viviers, who's in fifth place, who has currently made the pick at the moment if he can continue staying in this position. Charles Dodden in sixth place in the knockout zone, along with Gregory Matthews. Peter Solomon, who is still battling out with Dave Farrell, and Dave is still pushing as hard as he can. Remember, he's still got that 5 second added to his time as well, so he needs to not only get past but open up a 5 second gap. And it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, we talk about seconds at like you blink of an eye and it's gone. But in the world of racing, that's like taking a look at January and you're thinking about March.
Yeah, he's going to need a bit of luck in this race to be back in the fight, unfortunately. But so far, Tino seems to be second fastest man on track. He's catching second and third quite rapidly at this stage, about 4 to 6 tenths a lap. And Viviers as well.
So,
and corrected, Viviers just lapped the 42 dead last lap, second fastest man on track. So
let's take a look. Yeah, Viviers managing to do a 42.095 as his last lap time. Jamie Rees, though, has done the best lap time of the race, a 1:41.572. In our first position for our first batch was a 1:41.4, which was done by Domingo. So very, very close times between the two of them. So keep an eye out on that, as Conrad Martin and Werner Skuman still going at one another, but Tennis Bertha has closed down. Dave Farrell managing to get past the likes of Peter Solomon, but Tennis Bertha has been playing a little bit of a long waiting game at the moment, and it seems to have paid off into his favor, closing down under a second and now turning second, third and fourth into a 3-horse race for the final 9 minutes and 40 seconds of this race. And this is going to be a race down to the wire. Remember, the top 5 will be moving on to our final heat, our final knockout round for the prize money, and also to go and get selected, choosing 4 of the drivers that have done so well through the season and through the knockout stages to join up with the Hybrid Academy team that's sponsored by EG Evolved Simulator Rigs right here for the Road to Pro. And this is what we're seeing, the drivers really putting on a Road to Pro. But I do want to highlight here, Jamie Rees with a 9-second gap is just absolutely decimating the field at this point. But even though you've got a 9-second gap, you can't get too cocky, because Daniel, we both know, coming from the real world and the sim world, the moment you think, oh well, I've got this in the bag, you've always got Murphy sitting there with that number 10 socket and that 13 spanner in your pit, waiting to just make your life a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it's I think the worst thing to do is to back off and lay off, and especially like in endurance racing, you know sometimes backing off you tend to make the mistake. So you've got to keep your full focus right to the end. And so far, Jamie's doing a fantastic job. He's gonna yeah, if he carries on like this, he's going to have quite a big gap at the end.
Well,
So I think at this stage, all of them just going to need to keep the focus right to the end.
Conrad Martin locking down that inside. Werner Skuman trying to go around the outside. Slight contact between the two. Werner trying to get his car back under control. Conrad going and taking second place. But Werner just keeping his foot buried, not to slow it down. Got to be careful with that. And now Tinas Bertha has closed down. He is 0.8 of a second behind Skuman. And Werner, who kept it very well under control. I've got to take my hats off to it. Generally, we watch the guys get the dirt, try and turn to get back onto the circuit, and they land up sliding the car. He was actually doing something that is rather interesting. He went and straightened the steering up, got the car under control, and then started giving it as much throttle as possible in a safe manner to rejoin in a safe position, and also to ensure that he has pure car control. I mean, this is something that even as new drivers and pro drivers, what we do is we drop off the wheel, drop a wheel on the dirt, we get it sideways, we lose out that little bit of time, and then we have to concentrate on trying to bring it back. And as we try and bring it back, we land up causing more problems than good. We're now going and upsetting the car. So to have that mindset of, okay, I need to try and straighten myself out, I need to focus on getting a little bit more of a run, that is a move that can only be taught by getting it wrong more than once. And I've got to take my hat off. Well done, Werner Skuman, for keeping it together. Conrad Martin also, despite the contact, has managed to keep it all together, but it still has put the race on, as Conrad Martin's only managed to open up a second gap to Werner Skuman, and Werner remembers the Mercedes and remembers now he's got to get a little bit elbows out with the likes of Conrad Martin. Tinas Bertha, though, is sitting, waiting like a shark in the water. He smells blood, and it is the second and third.
I'm noticing Skuman doing a few mistakes here, so I think he needs to, if I were him, I would just wait it out, the last 5 minutes of this race, wait it out to the end. Yeah, bit of a risk to fight just to get second place. I think the main priority here is to just make it through, and I think Tinas is just sitting behind them, waiting that last 5 minutes. I don't think he wants to get involved.
It's one of these points that you got to think of the long game. It's like the start of a championship. You might have that one race that's not the greatest. Then you've got you think about, well, it's a 12 race championship or it's an 8 race championship. One race where you just had a little bit of a rough time. Rather just dial it back a little bit, get yourself sorted, take a breather, and come back into the next fight. You know you're going to be moving on if you're in third place, if you're likes of Skuman. But at the same time, I think the red mist has come down on Werner Skuman because he is pushing onto the back of Conrad. And Conrad's now got a problem once again. Werner Skuman into the toe. 4.5 minutes left of the race. And Tinas Bertha is saying, listen, guys, if you want to open up the door for me again, I wouldn't mind at this point.
Yeah, it seems like Skuman just won second place. He's not worried about top 5. He wants to fight. It's quite clear. He wants that second place. So
it's now to prove a point. Looks to the inside, backs out of it. Conrad locking down, stopping dead on the apex. Mercedes a lot more stable over the sausage curbs due to it being a lot heavier than the Ferrari. But the Ferrari allowing a little bit more rotation, getting into the toe, pulling himself along, just trying to eye out what's going to work for him. Conrad Martin not backing out of it. He is going to keep the charge. Werner Skuman, who is constantly hounding him, trying to figure out how can he get past. This is going to be hard as they make their way through. Now it's going to be who can get a little bit easier on the brakes. And it does look like Conrad going and slowing up a little bit more. He's hoping to go and cause Werner Skuman to just miss a gear. Something, slow down, please. And Werner Skuman saying, no, thank you. I'm going to keep up the charge. Conrad goes off circuit. That's it. Watching your mirrors. And unfortunately, that has allowed it. And Werner Skuman knows exactly what's happened there. Flashing his lights and saying, don't worry, buddy. You've I'm still in your mirrors. You haven't got rid of me just yet. You may have made that corner a little bit straighter, but you haven't gotten rid of the Ferrari. And now you've got Tierna's Bertha who's just keeping an eye on this and going, okay, I can see where these guys are doing it. Do you think the drivers back in the pits are taking a look and seeing all the little mistakes going on and saying, I'm starting to figure out what I'm going to need to do to beat my competitors, how to get into their head?
Yeah, I'm sure they will be looking at this, reflecting from their race and seeing what they can do differently at the start of the next race or in qualifying or whatever it may be. But when you're racing up against new competitors, it's a different situation. So it's not something you can exactly plan for. You're gonna take it as it comes.
That's a well.
But
Study
we've got
the
a big battle
competition.
coming here. Big battle coming here.
Study the competition, see where it's going to work. Conrad Martin doing everything he can. Werner Skuman right behind him, trying to really force a door open at this point. And this is where we saw Conrad Martin go and outbrake himself. And he's got a mirror full of Ferrari as they're trying to line their way through. Jumping on board, you could see the likes of Werner Skuman going and taking up the left and the middle mirror, and Werner is not making it easy at the moment. Werner Skuman, who is trying everything he can, all you can see is the back of this Mercedes and tries to look for the inside line. He's taking a lot more of a tighter line at this point. And as we just heard from Jim, that Jamie Rees is on the final lap. Conrad Martin will be starting his final lap with Werner Skuman chasing him down in third place. He wants that second place. Tierna's Bertha just maintaining his pace, 142.5. He's happy with that. Where the likes of Conrad Martin is getting forced into mistakes, along with Werner Skuman. Those two are fighting it out just ahead of him. Then we got Jean Viviers in fifth place, trying everything he can to really close down the distance as well.
Been a good drive from Viviers, come back to fifth, and the pace is very good. He's lapping in the 41s at the moment, and he's reeled these guys in pretty quickly. So I think he's one to watch for in the next race if he holds that fifth place.
Well, that's it. He needs to just maintain his position. And other guys have been as Charles Dodden, Gregory Matthews, Dave Farrell, and Peter Solomon. They are in the knockout zone, but they have been racing hard as all contact. And there we go, both off. Tierna's Bertha getting past, just having to go try get it all back together. Viviers seeing that there is damage to Skuman's car. Skuman has got a big nose in damage.
I had a feeling Tierna's was going to be that third biggie again.
Oh, that is going to impact it. And coming across on the road to pro and will be taking first place goes to Jamie Rees and can be smiling moving into the final heat. Tierna's Bertha, who is in second place, has got Werner Skuman. Werner has got some serious damage to the front of that Ferrari and is doing everything possible to try and close it down, but Tierna's Bertha has done just enough. Viviers has managed to move himself up into fourth place, but one that is going to be smiling through it all, other than Viviers, who's in fourth, is Charles Dodden, who now takes fifth place and moves in automatically after a bit of a start that turned into a little bit of a crazy situation, managing to lock it down. Conrad Martin in sixth place, Gregory Matthews, Dave Farrell, and Peter Solomon rounding out our field for Heat 2. And what a heat it was. Lots of drama that has been had in both heats. Heat 1 wasn't really in terms of contact, but was down to the drivers landing up with a mechanical failure and then a proper race to a line. I mean, these are some exciting bits, but now comes the difficult situation. And I know you're going to be a little bit busy, but we have got Ryan Ottens here as well to give us a bit of an idea. But before we jump into that, I just want to unpack what we just saw in Heat 2. With all the drama that's gone on, the main thing is to keep a consistent pace, keep your cool head, and move forward. And I've got to ask, that is something on the road to pro is something you have to learn, is keeping cool under a difficult situation, and going for risky moves may end in a very bad situation for everyone that's involved. So I'm going to start off with Ryan Ottens. Ryan, your thoughts into that?
Yeah, I mean, so far this has been quite entertaining. I'm almost considering not racing next season so I can watch these folks race some more. But yeah, I think guys need to obviously learn a little bit about, when to attack and when to not. It seemed a little bit dumb there to attack from Vanner's perspective because he was already through. Like when you're in the final and you're racing for the money, then by all means send it. But in a knockout race, it almost sent him home. So he's lucky it didn't, but it almost sent him home. So
Yeah, very unlucky for Conrad there.
very unlucky, and we have been in the admin box chatting, and I'd like to confirm that wildcard from race 1 will be Gavin Scruton. I think a well-deserved wildcard there, and I'm glad we have it because he had a power failure which took him out of a top 5 position. We have spoken to him. He's kicked his family off the generator and he's turned the generator towards his rig. So he will be there for the final.
Good job.
So we hope you're not in too much trouble there, Gavin, but we'll see you in the final. And from race 2, I think we'd all agree it's only fair that Conrad Martin gets that wildcard position.
100%.
So those will be our 2 wildcards going through to the final with the rest of the top 10. So exciting times.
Well. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. So our wild cards, not only they managed to defy the odds but get a second chance at life. Well done to Gavin Scruton, who managed to now fire up a bit of a petrol engine to keep himself going. But also to Conrad Martin, who was in a monstrous fight that right at the last landed up in a bit of contact. And I've got to say, the 2 wild cards are going to be very, very interesting to see how they mix around. But, this is what we want to see. We want to see the guys slug it out. Now we're heading into a race where we've got 12 drivers. There's everything on the line going for it. We're actually going to bring Andries back into the commentary box to come and have a chat to us. Andries from EG Simulators, EG Evolved Simulator Rigs. I mean, your takeaway from the race, you saw the carnage, the highs and lows, but this is the highs and lows of going to pro and on the road to pro, and just hearing that we have got Gavin Scruton and Conrad Martin as our wild cards for the final race. Well, do you think there's going to be a bit between their teeth to prove themselves tonight for the final round?
I think they have something to come prove to the rest of the group here. They both obviously had their own circumstances, but this last race was so action-packed. I was sitting on the edge of my seat looking at all these fights. This is right through. Well, Jamie was the Verstappen that would just leave everybody behind, make it boring for the rest.
We should put a Red Bull sticker on the side of his car.
Yeah, exactly. So he was so far ahead, nobody saw him really and took much notice. I did notice his lap times, it was actually quite decent. But it was nice to see the fights, and that's what we're here for, obviously. So, but to have those 2 wildcards, I think I agree with you guys. Well deserved in both instances, and I'm glad to see. Well, I'm looking forward to see what they make of it.
Well, I mean, let's take a look at it, because we got Domingo, who did a 1:41.472 as the quickest lap time for heat number 1. Heat 2 was our second batch, and that was Jamie doing a 1:41.572 as the quickest lap time. I mean, this is going to be a good race between the 2 of them, because both of them had the opportunity where they ran away from the field. Now they're going to be fighting it out. They're really going to be slugging it out right to the line. And there's not going to be a runaway there. I think that's going to be a proper run to the line between the 2 of them. But then we've also got to talk about the consistent drivers that managed to work their way through, like the Tienes Bertha, who managed to avoid all the incidents and move himself up into a valuable position at that point. You had Vivius, who had a fantastic run after landing up with a problem, managed to pull himself all the way back into 5th place, moving his way up through the order. I mean, this is exciting stuff. This is what we want to see on the road to pro. And considering the prizes on the line, and let's highlight that quickly for everyone at home, because this next race is going to start in a couple of moments. We're just getting everyone in, and also I can believe Gavin has now gone and bungee strapped the entire family to the couch so they don't go anywhere near the generator. And Conrad at this moment's taking a breather. He's going and taking a sip of cool drink, and he's going, right, put my head back in it. Let's go for it. But let's talk about the prizes. 6th place will get 400 Rand. 5th place will get 500 Rand. 4th place, 850 Rand. Then you've got 3rd place, 1,250 Rand. 2nd place, 2,000 Rand. 1st place, 3,000 Rand at the end of it. Plus, there's more prizes on the line, and I'd like Andries to just give us a bit of an understanding of what's on the line other than just cash money prizes here, because there's a little bit more to the tale.
I think Ryan should explain it perhaps a little bit better. I'm really just supporting Ryan here, so maybe I'm going to give Ryan to give you that answer, and then I'll tell you the cherry on top of everything else, what I'm really dreaming of, and this was something that we discussed when we took on this whole project, which would really become a very exciting thing in the future. So, but Ryan, I'm going to leave it to you.
No stress. Yeah, so as I said previously, we will be looking at our in-house ELO system that we've been looking at for the last 8 races of the RaceFace Championship, where we've been taking into account quali times, race times, positions, most positions gained, most positions lost. If any penalty points were awarded, they had lost a bit of ELO based on that. So we have a database of this information, and based on that, next week as a team we will sit down and we will select 4 drivers from the 24 participants that signed up, who will join a new team, an EG Evolved by Hybrid Academy team. They will have ongoing mentorship and training from the Hybrid Academy guys in the sort of fight of getting them to pro. That is the plan, that is the end goal, is to take those 4 guys from whichever class they're in and get them to pro. And the massive thing there is an 80,000 Rand prize pool up for grabs there, where those 4 guys we will chat to them and we'll see what they need. And when I say what do they need, this could be a rig. They could be sitting on a garden chair right now, and a rig could make the world of difference. It could be a DD, a Mazda R9 for argument's sake. It could be load cell pedals. It could be any item that is going to come from EG and be help for these guys going forward in this initiative of getting them to pro. So, I mean, I think it's a massive thing, and there's not many people in sim racing that can say that they were sponsored a DD / a rig / load cells. So I hope these guys are really looking forward to it. They seem like it, and they've been putting in a lot of effort. So that's the big prize, I think, at the end of the day, and the ongoing mentorship. I think those 2 things together are worth a lot, you know.
I think the biggest thing out to that, and look, yeah, we talk about the different guys using different. Yeah, we've had guys that've got their rigs where they've got steering taped to their desk. They're sitting on an office chair. Even myself, I've got a T300 T3PA pedals, a homemade rig. But the most valuable thing I think anyone could take away is the mentorship, having the support, having someone to just go and correct you and say, listen, try this line a little better, try this a little bit of tweak on the setup. I think having the support and membership is one of the most valuable things when it comes to motorsport, because without that, you're not going to progress. You can have all the gear in the world. You can go and buy the 650,000 Rand worth of gear. But the moment that you become demotivated because you're just not seeing that increase of pace that you are hoping, to have someone put their hand on your shoulder and say, don't worry, bud, let's go through this, makes a world of difference. And I think personally that is by far the best prizes that I think. But Andries, you also said you have a future goal in mind, not just only for the cash prizes and being able to join a professional esports team like what we've got here. You've got a future goal to this, that a plan that's not just 1 year down the line, it's going quite a few years down the line that you've got in your head.
I'm the dreamer, and I have people like Ryan and the rest of the hybrid team that can execute on a lot of this stuff and make it happen. And that's an awesome combination, I think. Yeah, but you're right. You know, you hit it, the nail on the head here, saying that, you know, I think the big prize here is being able to be taken by the hand and led by the best and show you the ropes, and you see the progress. I think from the outset, this was never a case of EG Evolve Simulator Rig sponsoring gear and let people think that that's all they're going to be winning. It was more about the coaching, the support, the training, all along. So I think we've kind of achieved that already, which is why some of these prizes are only coming at the end. There are two things that I really look forward to us doing in the near future. I mean, wouldn't that be great if we're in a position to, for instance, take this top 4 team and the coaches to a Spa 24-hour race and go and smell all the fuel and the tires. And
I got goosebumps already.
I mean, for me, that's where I'm dreaming. This is the kind of stuff I put up, and I look towards it and say, guys, let's figure out how we get there. Well, so for me, that is one of the big goals. Whether we're able to do that next year or the year after that would be awesome for me personally to be able to do that.
I think it is highly possible, and you know, for people to go and take that step, to have, you know, the support to do that is just incredible. I do want to say that I'm about the luggage weight for undercarriage in the aeroplane. So if anyone has a bag that doesn't have to be big, I'm short, but I will happily stow away. Now, I want to go through the process because this is a bit of an interesting one for our drivers that are going to be making their way around the course. Is we've got a different type of practice session, something that's a little, well, not practice session, qualifying session that the guys are going to have to deal with. And this is a 1-lap sprint to do it. So they've got one warm-up lap, well, just as they exit, get their temperatures up into the tires, into the brakes, and then you stand on it. You got 1 lap to make it. One by one, you will go out, and that will dictate your positioning. You've got a 25-minute race. You've got 12 very, very hungry drivers that are looking to go and do everything possible to go through. We've got our 2 wild cards that have had a rough run in Heat 1 and in Heat 2, coming back to go throw their hat back into the ring. First out at the moment is Gavin Scruton, and Gavin had the problem of the generator now being his lifeline at this point to get himself going. So he's trying to maximize the heat into the brakes, trying to maximize the heat into the tires, really getting everything to soak up. Final 2 corners, this is where you got to take a deep breath and get going, because you're going to be going on for your sprint time. Qualifying time to beat that we've seen has been a 1:41.2. That was actually done by our Heat 2 winner, Jamie. So let's see how Gavin's going to be able to get close to that as he starts his qualifying lap now. 20 seconds after we will release our next car to go and get enough heat to go and go for his sprint run. So all looking good. Gavin trying to keep himself together, getting a little bit more of a run. Imola, being that very challenging circuit, is going to push the drivers that little bit more. We've got to mind out for the sausage curbs. We've seen that come into play. Ryan, you know this all too well with those sausage curbs, how much they can unsettle the car and cost you a 1/10 of a second. That just what could have been needed to put you in first place. I mean, you've had that where in the season, you missed out a position by 0.001 of a second just because a sausage curb bounced you the wrong way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think sausage curbs are probably the most hated thing on any racetrack, but they are needed because it keeps everyone in line. And as you say, you have to use them, but as soon as you use it a little bit too much, it ends up hurting you, and it changes the whole outcome of the lap. So I am quite excited for this format because, based on the results of the last two races, it's easy to look and say, well, Domingo and Reese in the BMs seem to be the guys to beat. But this sort of format, one small mistake and all of a sudden you're not at the front and you've got to fight your way through on a challenging track to pass. So I don't think it's over by any means just yet, and I think we're going to see an interesting race here. So
well,
let's see.
Gavin going out and putting a 1:43.08 as his best lap time. Conrad Martin now out trying to get a little bit more of a run. Second of our wild cards to really keep it together. There has been talk of what car's going to favor Imola more, BMW, Ferrari, Mercedes. I mean, we even chuck in a Porsche as well into the mix. But Daniel Rowe, I've got to ask you your thoughts on this. What do you feel is going to have the advantage, if there is any? Because so far what we've seen, Imola has been one of the tracks that's just put everyone on the same page as Conrad Martin starts his flying lap to go and see whether he can move himself up into first place.
Yeah, I think definitely the BM and the Merc probably have the slight upper edge here at this track with the BAP at the moment. But I mean, the Ferrari is not a bad car. It's a good car on this track to fight, especially in the middle sector. So yeah, I mean, you can't count out the Ferraris nor the Porsche. Pace is so close, but yeah, I mean, so far we can see the BMs this season have generally had the slight upper hand at Imola. But I mean, it's up to the drivers to do the job as well. So you can't just give the credit to the car. The guys need to pull the finger. One lap is what gets you your quali lap, and if you invalidate, you start at the back possibly. So it's crunch time.
Well, this is such a difficult thing. Do you start on higher tire pressures? Do you lower your tire pressures to just maximize getting heat in? I mean, these are all little factors that are coming into play. Conrad Martin, though, has been running quite a good pace at the moment. He is 0.1 up on the lap time. Can he keep it all together, though, to move himself into first place? He's got a 1:43.0 to beat. If he can do it, he will lock in, but we must be looking for that 1:41 to be a really quick time that will match it out. And as he comes across the line, let's see what he gets, a 43.1. So not able to beat Gavin, so Gavin just managing to keep himself going. Now it's on to Anton Lovmers, the second of the Mercedes to go out and really force his way through. And this is one thing that's rather exciting of having these one-lap flyers, because it's just a difficult situation because the nerves kick in. You've got to try and wait your opportunity, and I've got to say it's one of the most nerve-wracking times there is. Lummer's not getting quite the run he wanted through the chicane. But I've got to ask, Ryan, Daniel, you both pro drivers, you both racing pro. This one-lap shootout is not an easy feat for any driver of any caliber, because it just takes one mistake to throw you down the order.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I've been in these before, and the nerves, number one, go crazy because you only have one shot, and it's difficult to get your tire pressures up, your tire temps up. You start your lap on lower temps and lower pressures, so the car's not got quite as much grip. It's quite an intense thing to get right. So I can only imagine what's going through all of their minds right now and how their palms are sweaty. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I mean, already look how close those 2 lap times are. From guys that I suppose thought they were out and then had to quickly jump back in the rigs. So that could have put even more pressure on them. I don't know, but
you can see that by the lap time, very safe laps. I think the pressure was definitely on.
yeah.
You know, just set the lap time, don't invalidate. I'm sure they could do much faster than that, but in this situation, as you mentioned, the nerves are crazy.
Yeah.
As we see, Lana's taking a little bit too much corner there, and let's see whether that's going to be a count for the lap, or is that going to be over. He's really trying to keep it all together, trying to dial it all in. That Mercedes, he's really starting to take a little bit more off the curbs now. It's making his way down to the final 2 corners, and it's all about getting the drive. And, well, just want to complete what you were saying. Your palms are sweaty, knees are shaky, mom's spaghetti sort of comes to mind instantly. But Anton Lammers trying to make his way through that 1:43.08 to beat. Let's see if he'll be able to do it. So far, got some pace, puts himself into first place. A 42.9 to beat.
Yes, that's tight.
That is incredibly close. Now it's time for Charles Dodden to move his way forward. But, I mean, take a look at the lap times. 0.085 between first and second. 0.14 between first and third. At the moment, I mean, these are just times that are really getting thrown in. These are, I'm looking at this going, well, I don't stand a chance if I ever wanted to try take the fight. But, I mean, this has been the road to pro. These are guys that have been starting out that's, you know, just as casual sim racer, doing 2 minutes a lap, has learned and taken every bit of valuable information, whether you might see it as information that's not needed. I mean, like, why are you talking to me about brakes? Why are you talking to me about temperature? I mean, tell me the secrets to go faster. Like, what do I need to do to go faster? I don't want to worry about what the birds are doing in the sky, but all this comes compounding. It's all the small things that you have to be looking for. I mean, this is even comes down to the type of gear that you use. And I mean, Andres, you're the best one to talk about this because of the type of gear that's being brought in. You know, guys are looking for not something that's going to snap your arms off with the highest force feedback in the world, but looking for those little bits of detail that can tell you that the car's doing something underneath you to get that feeling. Because we're not experiencing the G-forces, we haven't got the movement in our backsides, but we're starting to look for those little advantages when it comes to the hardware that's being used.
It's exactly that. I get a lot of people coming to me. In fact, one of my earlier customers actually turned around one day. He says, "No, I want to buy the R16. This thing is not strong enough for me." First of all, it's about setting up the base itself and making sure that it's, you know, it does what it's supposed to be doing. And then I also say to the guys, you know, it's not about the force. You know, it's a force feedback base, but it's not about the force. You want the feedback, that detail that is required to drive these sophisticated machines. And I think having done some racing myself until I got too busy, by the way, with this business, you need to be able to know and feel exactly what the car is doing. And I think this is what the new tech is doing. You know, DD drive, whether, I mean, it doesn't matter what brand. DDs are just on a different level that gives you the feedback so you can understand what the car is doing underneath you. You can feel where the limits are and you can push it. Not just the DD in terms of the feedback. A good load cell pedals really does a lot. My advice usually when guys are a little bit pushed on budget is to say, well, just get yourselves a decent quality set of pedals. Even if you're on a T300 or a G29, doesn't really matter. But as long as you have something that can give you a proper ability to brake and control the car around the corners when you need the brake to work. So tech is really becoming important. Those guys that tells you that expensive gear doesn't make you fast do not have the money to pay for this. This is why they say that. So, you know, if you can afford it, just do it. It will definitely improve the game.
Enjoy your hobby. Whether you want the immersion or you want the esports, go and enjoy your hobby, because if you're not smiling at the end of it, well, where are you going to be? But take a look. Charles Darden managed to get himself into second place at 43.06, just getting ahead of Gavin Scroton. Now it's time for Leclerc Basson, who's trying to make up a bit of time. He's going to have to really push as hard as he can to get that little bit more. We're seeing the guys getting faster and faster and utilizing the curbs, watching a little bit more lift on the cars as they make their way through. You can see a little bit of bounces, the guys having to try and go for everything that's there. They're trying to really push the limits on this, and with only one lap, there's no mistakes that can be had. It's really cutting the chicane. I don't think that's going to help us on at this point, and you're trying to line yourself up, and it's very difficult in these situations to just really hunt down the apex. And I think only when you get midway through the corner, you start realizing, maybe I've taken a little bit too much, and you've got to try and think a bit ahead. But this is what Imola is. If you get one corner wrong, you're going to land up getting another two corners catching you out further down the line. So you've got to be so careful. And I've got to ask, Daniel Rowe, Ryan Ottens, is this why he chose Imola? Is it because it's one of these circuits that it's not about getting one corner right. It's about getting 3 to 4 corners right before you can be able to get a good lap time?
Yeah, I didn't have input on the track decision. I think Ryan did, but I think it's been a perfect chosen circuit. It's got a bit of everything, and like you can see in the quali races, it can bite you, and it's been fantastic.
Well, Leclerc now charging on. He's 0.7 up and giving it everything he's got. Racing down to the line. This may be a 41. Let's see, getting a 42.5, taking first place away from Anton Lammers. And now it is going to be all eyes on Werner Skuma. Now, Werner did have the contact in Heat 2 that landed up with a very, very broken Ferrari. And, well, between him and Conrad, they're going to be sitting there with that in the back of their mind going, all right, I've got to put what happened behind me and get into the headspace of this. And I've got to ask, I mean, Ryan Ottens, Daniel Rowe, you guys know this in terms of trying to put a race behind you that just happened, to just shove it to the back end of your mind and think, all right, I need to think of the long game here. I need to think about what's going to happen now and what I need to do to move forward, and not to let it go and be the monkey on your back, the little devil on your shoulder that's constantly reminding you. I mean, that's a difficult skill to learn by itself, and that's for everyday use. I mean, that's not just sim racing, it's not just racing. I mean, you can be walking your daily job and you kick your toe and you start trying to think about every step that you're going to kick your toe on. It's a skill that's useful.
I think it's easier in this environment where, one of those sayings when I came from racing was always, get back on the horse. The sooner you do, the sooner you forget about the last crash, and the sooner you forget about all those issues. So once you're behind the seats again and you're pushing for a hot lap, at least in my experience, the past is the past. You're only looking at what's in front of you, so I don't think that will make a big difference. One thing, just while I'm chatting, I'd just love to mention the previous driver, Leclerc Basson. He is very much what this championship has all been about, and it's awesome to see that, well, when I say championship, this Road to Pro. He is a friend of someone else in Road to Pro and bought a rig and a steering wheel because of the friend. He joined our Road to Pro late, and look at him sitting here in first right now. That was part and parcel of what this was all about, is getting
very, very, very unlucky there. Just overshot that chicane.
Shame.
And
yeah, I just think, as I say, it's nice to have Leclerc. Apparently there's a third and a fourth friend in the works, and at the end of the day, that's kind of what Road to Pro is about, is growing the community and getting people in who've never done this. So he's a prime example of that.
Well, I mean, if we talk about it, he raced in gold I mean, that's where your bare bones start. That's where
Yeah.
you've got to go and carve a path for yourself, and that's where a lot of these drivers come from: is gold, silver, and pro am. And am these aren't your super fast, speedy guys that are at the front. These aren't your Jimmy Broadbents, but these are chaps that started out just wanting to improve, to learn and hone the craft into what it is. And now it's come down to this, where unfortunately we saw the likes of Werner, who just got that little bit of a snap oversteer on the exit, and it cost him dearly for this. Now he's going to be watching the qualifying. He's watching AJ de Kock making his way around. AJ de Kock actually going and slowing up, going to do a little bit of brake drag to just try and get some heat into the tires. But this is what it is. These are your gold, your AMs, your silvers, your pro-ams, all showing what they can do tonight, not only for the prizes, but the pride that comes from it that you've improved is priceless. I can hands down say the prizes are cool, but being able to join an esports team, a professional outfit like the Hybrid Academy is amazing. To have the teachings that's going on and the support that's needed is always valuable, but also to go and sit back and say, well, this is where I was 9 weeks ago, and this is where I am now. I mean, that's just pure pride that comes down to it. You sit back and you go, I did that. That was me that managed to do it, because there's only one seat in these GT3 cars.
But Stephen, if I can come in here, I think that was kind of the main goal of this whole exercise, is to take those guys, and without them maybe knowing that they do have the skill, just hold their hand a little bit and show them that they can, and give them the confidence. And I think we're seeing the result of that now. This is still early days for these guys. I'm all about what I can do through this business to impact these guys' lives for the future. They may become top esports drivers, they may become top real life racing drivers, but it started somewhere, and this is kind of where I wanted to make my mark, is exactly that. And I mean, we look at these guys, they've really done very well, learning a lot of new things over the last couple of weeks. But the main thing for me that in these little, quick one round qualifying is the mental side of it. How do you cope with the stress? Because you know how to do it, it's just how to cope with it. So what I really would like to do in future, and it's just not just for this team, but is to get coaches in that can help these guys to essentially win the mental race as well. How do you handle the pressure under racing environments? I'm sure even people like Daniel and Ryan would get value from sessions like that, where we and I know people. I've met so many people in my life, so we can easily put that essentially as part of the training programs as well, for people to train with and learn about pressures that they would need to overcome, like now, which is more mental in kind. You have to overcome it some way or another. So those are the things that I would like us to start focusing on, preparing these guys for the big races.
Well, that's it. And taking a look, AJ de Kock going and invalidating his last lap. So he was not able to put it in. It's just taking that little bit too much to the corner. And as you're bringing up, it's the mental game into it of, how can I do this and coping with the pressure. And it just takes that 1 centimeter offline, it goes and throws you in the wings. But I also want to check out to, we're talking about a lot about the drivers and the people learning, and the guys right here really putting on a point. But to you guys out at home, the supporters, the teams, the families, the friends that are joining us over at the Hybrid Academy YouTube page and also the RaceFace YouTube page, massive shout out to you guys, because honestly, the support has been crazy, through the roof, through everyone. We've got Mahath Musa, Daniel Dematros Petro, JD Simpson, Rob van der Heever, and the list goes on and on and on, of just everyone supporting, coming and seeing their friends, their family, all going and giving it their all. And I've just got to take my hat off to it, because this is what the community is about. This is what about sim racing is always exciting, because well, there's never just one person out on the track, and there's never just one person in the grandstand either.
Oh,
Olivia's going and getting it sideways, and that may
that
have
was a big
invalidated.
lap. That was a
Oh.
big lap.
Did he invalidate or not?
Yep.
And they're about to find out. 2 corners to go. Hard on the brakes. Vivia is just trying to get a little bit more of a run. But Jean is doing everything, chomping at the bit.
I have a feeling this would have been pole.
Well, if it was Paul,
Provisional.
he's going to be kicking himself as he's going to be coming across the line. Invalid.
That was provisional pole.
Yep. 42-3, but unfortunately couldn't keep it on the black stuff. Enough was needed. So now we move on.
We've got AJ de Kock and Viviers, both quickish guys that should be up there. Now starting at the back. Van der Skuman starting at the back. This is exactly why this qualifying is exciting, and it's going to turn the race on its head, I think.
Yeah, I think Viviers will be kicking himself because he's got really strong race pace. And that was a pretty decent quali lap from him. So,
Just to talk about Viviers for a second,
Yeah.
if we go back and look at his past, when we first raced here, he qualified on a 44.4. This week, he sent me a screenshot of a practice lap of a 41.1.
My heavens.
The road to pro and the training and the help has really paid off for him.
And I mean, I actually want to talk, Viviers, when we've actually raced, I've raced a couple of times with him, was always a consistency, was a little bit of a battle for him. And with utilizing what he's learned, he's gotten more and more consistent in his pace. And yes, dropping a wheel off of dirt, anyone can do it. But now he's shown that he can put the fight. I mean, a 42.3, if he could have just kept it all together, as I said, would have been provisional pole, because at the moment, Leclerc Basson, with that 42.5 as the quickest lap time, is leading it out. Now we've got Unrik, who's out on the circuit. Let's see what he will be able to do. He's trying to get a little bit more momentum and try to carry his way through. But it seems like the trouble causer is this upcoming chicane where you've just got to eye it out. You can so easily miss your braking marker. You get onto the anchors, you sling it in, watch the curbing, taking a little bit gentle. Oh, a little bit too much over the curb, but that may still be in. But I think it's running the fine line. He's 0.9 up on the lap time. Let's see if he'll be able to do it. This may be a 42.3 as he makes his way around. This might even be a 41. He's about 1.1 seconds.
a very good lap this.
This is going to be a proper lap if he can put it all together. Now it's just keep your foot buried to the line. He's in 6th and jumps up 42.1 as the quickest lap time. And that is going to be one to keep out for. So, Henrik Sikkers in first place, second Leclerc Basson, Anton Lammers, Charles Dodden, along with Gavin Scroson, Conrad Martin in 6th. Now we're keeping an eye on Tiernis Bertha. Tiernis Bertha, let's talk about him. Comes from racing M. He's been consistent in his times. He hasn't been the quickest out in the field, but has shown his strongest point is consistency. He's able to be in the right place at the right time. Can he put the car in the right place to ensure that he gets into the first place and jumps himself up through the field? Well, we're about to find out as he's putting the power down. But I know there's a couple of drivers that are going to be looking at the back and saying, I need to be in the front. And they're going to push hard. And this is where it gets a bit worrying, because you're going to have some of the quickest drivers that have developed from Am, Gold, Silver, and Pro-Am now having to try and fight it out to first place. And as everyone knows, starting from the back can be a double-edged sword very, very quickly, especially in competition like this.
Especially on a track like Imola. It doesn't add to making that any easier than it should be. So let's see.
Well,
This
We're
could get
watching
interesting.
a driver here that's really put in a lot of effort up to now. Tiernis.
Yeah,
And
commitment.
so far he's been hooking this lap, so I think this is going to be a good one.
Fingers crossed now through the chicane. This is make or break this part of the lap.
Oof, that was close. Good lap, good lap.
So now is 0.9 up. Needs to keep the drive, keep it going. We're still looking for that elusive 41s as the quickest lap times, and that was done by Jamie and the likes of Isam. So we're looking forward to seeing them getting back out onto the circuit. But Tinas Bertha has gotten quicker. This may be a first or second place. He's 1 second up. And second place, 42.2, narrowly missing out by 0.075 of a second to the likes of Sichers. And definitely sweat being rubbed off the brow there. But now we're going to be moving on to our next one, which is Isam Domingo. One that's gotten quite a bit of support in the YouTube chat is Domingo. So let's see, will he be able to do it? I wouldn't like to be in the boots at the moment because all eyes are on what these drivers can do. We've seen him get down to a 41, but can he recreate the magic? Can he pull the magic back out of the hat to do it once again? Because I think the advantage, knowing his competition, knowing that he saw what he too was, and knowing who is competing in there, who he's competing next to, any advantage is needed. Because it's going to be a race right down to the wire from 1st to 12th. There is no question in that.
Looking like a good lap.
So keeping it all together, putting the drive down, now trying to make a little bit more of a move. He's through Tosa, through turn 7. Now he's going to be charging on to turn 8. And this is a little bit of a blind rise into a left-hander. Paratella, turn 9, keep it all together into turn 10, starts tightening up underneath you. Now I've got to get a little bit more of a drive into Aqua Morali. Turn 11, turn 12, you just got to try and balance the car out. Up into turn 13. Now it is heading into the dreaded chicanes that everyone hates. Now it is into Variante Alta, turn 14, 15. And they've managed to keep it all looking good. They're not running over the curbs too much, but definitely running onto those limits. Now we're heading down to the bottom end of the section. Turn 16 into turn 17. Very, very deceptive part of the circuit. Rivatsa, not a very easy corner to go for. Rivatsa 2, it's all about trying to get the momentum out of it. Sure, you get your gearing right. And now onto the straight as they put the power down. And Isam Domingo, let's see, will he be able to jump himself up? Puts himself into first place at 41.5, which is only 0.1 off his quickest lap time in the race. I mean, that's impressive.
Very good lap. Very, very good lap.
So in the race, he was able to do a 41.4. He got a 41.5. Now, let's see Jamie Rees, if he will be able to do it. Jamie Rees, quickest lap time was a 41.2 in the race, managed to do a 41.572. Now the eyes are going to be set on what will Jamie Rees be able to do. Putting the power on. Now it's about getting the drive. And this is where it's going to be a battle to the wire. And I've got to say, I'm really, really looking forward to all these guys going head to head and really putting it all together and seeing who's going to come out after a 25-minute race. All cards are on the line. It doesn't matter where you start. It's about where you finish. And that is what we saw in Heat 2. From the back, managing to get to the front, that's where you need to be.
Oh, watching these qualies, it feels like we're watching a race here already.
Yeah, Domingo's kept it all together and he's put himself in prime position. I mean, we saw how fast he was in his heat race. So it's on Jamie now. If he can't put it in on the front row, then it's going to be an uphill battle for him to try and hold off Domingo. So I don't know if I would have wanted to go first or second. Yeah, I think first because the nerves are surely higher for Reese right now.
I would personally like to, start in first and then walk out away from the rig and just ignore it for the next couple of minutes because this is definitely going to be a run down to the wire. Jamie Reese doing everything possible to try and keep it all together. Now it's heading into Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2 as he makes his way around turn 17, 18, put the power down, and it's going to be a charge right down to the wire. And let's see, will he be able to keep it up? 0.11 up. Let's see if it's going to be enough. Coming across the line, jumping into second place with a 42.082.
Great
Domingo getting first place, but now this is going to be a run down to the wire. So let's head back to the commentary box as we got a bit of a shot of all the cars.
Well done to everyone there.
Nerves
Good job,
are on
Domingo.
edge. So, here's some Domingo, Jamie Reese, Heinrich Sichers, Tiernes Bertha, Leclerc Besson, Anton Lammers, Charles Darden, Gavin Scroton, Conrad Martin, Werner Skuman, Jean Viviers, AJ de Kock, rounding out our field. And now I'm going to ask the very, very difficult questions. Andries, if you have to go and take a look at the field and say, I'm going to put money on the line for 2 drivers in your pick, who do you think it will be?
Well, I think it's quite clear if you just look at the gap in the first and second heat race times between Reese and Domingo. I think it's a fair, easy pick if I could judge on that. Yeah, but like I mean, anything can happen in a race. They just bump each other. So from a fastest kind of drivers on the track, those would be the pick. But it's still there's a lot of race in between, and who knows who comes first and second then. If there's a lot of bumping and scratching and hugging and kissing going on.
I like that. That's the best way of saying it. Hugging, scratching, kissing. Hopefully not going and kissing the wall at the end of that. All right, well, Andries, you've had your pick. Daniel Rowe, your 2 drivers that you feel are going to put themselves right up to the front. Oh, the silence from Daniel Rowe pretty much sums up the story of looking at this point. Ryan, I'm going to ask you because it looks like Daniel Rowe is gone American before the 4th of July and pleading the 5th on this one.
I'm going to go with a Domingo win, Reese second, and just to throw in a top 3 for the fun of it, and Heinrich Sichers in third. That's my podium here.
Okay, right.
That's my podium. Yes.
You're going bold.
Yeah. I did tell all the guys already that whoever wins has to buy me a beer because they get all the money. So, yeah.
Well, to everyone out on the grandstands, on the Hybrid Academy YouTube page, make sure you hit the subscribe along with the bell notification icon. And to the RaceFace page, hit the subscribe button with the bell notification icon for the amazing racing that we're going to see both now and in the future. But to you guys out in the chat as well, let us know who are your pick for the road to pro, because we're seeing it here. And let's take a look through the field of who is going to be where. So, taking a look, first place is Domingo. Isham Domingo managed to win race 1, now starting in first. Jamie Reese in second place. We've got Heinrich Sichers in third. Fourth, Tiernes Bertha, Leclerc Besson, Anton Lammers, Charles Darden, Gavin Scroton, Conrad Martin, Werner Skuman, Jean Viviers, and AJ de Kock, rounding out our field for the final time. 25 minutes. It is going to be a race and a half, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, because we've got it here, I'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsors, EG Evolved Simulator Rigs, Hybrid Academy, and RaceFace. Thank you so much for sponsoring the event, and thank you for giving us all the great action that's here tonight. But, well, Andries, Daniel Rowe, Ryan Ottens has already gapped it. He's decided getting way out of this. He's going to keep an eye. The final words have to be said. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, let's get ready to rumble here at Imola for the final round, for the final heat on the road to Pro. Brought to you by Evolved Simulators, EG Evolved Simulators, and Hybrid Academy in conjunction with RaceFace. I can't speak for anyone here, but I can tell you I'm standing out of my chair. My nerves are on end. My hands are shaking. Tim, the cameraman, has got the gimbal definitely working. I've gotten word from Jim and Tim that they are both excited about this. And it's going to be game on. The pressure is mounting on all these drivers. To you guys out there in the crowd, get ready to shout, scream, and support, because with only one corner to go, we're about to go racing here at Imola for the final time. 25 minutes, lots on the line. There is so much that is on the line for these drivers. Pride, money, prizes, just everything is on the line. It's time to make or break it. Domingo leading it out. Jamie Reese 70 kilometers an hour. And it is going to be a charge down to turn 1. Wait for the green. So wait for the line. Waiting for Jim. Yeah, we're going to see the big sends. As we wait, oh, this is always just waiting. And Conrad Martin with a drive-through penalty. Conrad Martin with a drive-through penalty has got himself a little bit messed up for this one. It does look like Jamie Reese getting the jump on Domingo side by side as they go through. Sikkers jumping back into third. Tennis Bertha trying to come back and getting into the toe. But Sikkers has not given up. Unrich looking up onto the inside. Going to try to go a little bit later onto the brakes. Not able to make it just as yet as they claw their way through. Tennis Bertha feeling the pressure. He's got Leclerc right behind him with Charles trying to give him a run for his money. Charles up on the inside. Big send, making it past. Anton Lummers following suit. He's trying to give a bit of chase. But we've got Conrad Martin with that drive-through penalty. That is going to impact his race. But it's all about going and fighting it down to the wire. And we talked about the mental game that comes into play. Anton Lummers now feeling the pressure as Werner lines himself up around the outside. Tries to get past. Werner getting a little bit aggressive. Loses out and now has got Conrad Martin getting right behind him. And Conrad Martin seeing him and going, well, buddy, time for round 2. Let's go for this. Let's bring the race in. And you've got Gavin Scruton trying to chase him down. Jean Viviers dealing with AJ de Kock right behind as they put the pressure on. But at the moment, closest battle is Leclerc Besson. Chasing after Charles Darden. Tiernis Bertha along with Ulrich Sikkers chasing it down. But at the moment, Issam Domingo opening up a second gap to Jamie Reese as they make their way, completing lap 1 here at Imola for the final heat of the night. And on the road to Pro, this is where you got to give it everything you've got. Werner Schumann going after Anton Lammers, getting into the toe, trying to pull himself along, getting closer and closer, looks to the inside line, backs out of it, chooses not to go for it. Conrad Martin has pulled into the pits. He is doing his drive-through penalty and will need to get back out onto circuit. Oh, man, what a blow from the start. That is just never a good run for it. Viviers losing out of position to AJ de Kock. AJ lining himself up, managed to get past, and now is on a monstrous charge. Runs out wide, though, and that is going to allow Viviers to get a little bit closer. De Kock really having a good run at him. So it is going to be a monstrous run for everyone. Conrad Martin getting back out on circuit. Now is 37 seconds down on the field, and we'll have to figure out how can he close down the distance in 22 minutes. Anton Lammers feeling the pressure. Werner trying to look for the inside line, unable to do it as they fight their way around. But it does look like Werner getting a little bit more of a drive. Will be able to utilize a toe. Backs out of it though through the chicane. He's going to rather wait it out and utilize the momentum. Snapping pass. But out at front, it is Domingo, but not running away from Jamie Rees, who's managed to close down the distance to 0.5 of a second. Jamie really trying to reel in. Domingo not able to get away as much as he wanted. Enric Sichers has got Tianus Bertha right behind him, and Tianus is not relenting at this point. He is constantly putting the pressure on and just keeping within earshot of the competitors ahead. Then you've got Charles Dodden, who had a fantastic start. Leclerc Besson having a fantastic run. He's in 6th place. Anton Lammers feeling the pressure from Werner Skuman. Garrett Scruton dealing with Jean Viviers, Andre de Kock, Conrad Martin, who had to do a drive-through duty, was out of position, or was slightly quicker than that 70 kilometers an hour, which, I mean, you run that very, very fine line in trying to keep the pace, and lost out a lot of time. Now having to try and work his way through. Anton Lammers dealing with Werner Skuma right behind him. Werner just constantly putting the pressure onto the back of him and focusing where can he get by. And just, you could see Anton Lammers is actually just straightening the car up to ensure that Werner is not getting by. But Andries, I've got to say, seeing EG Evolved Racing all over EG Evolved simulators, written all over these cars, seeing how close they are in terms of the competition, it must be bringing some pride as well, seeing the brand going and supporting the future in the likes of esports in South Africa for sim racing.
It's amazing. It's amazing to see that. Did not expect that. I was surprised. So I must give that to the hybrid team. The creativity and initiative to actually do that, this is absolutely amazing. So I can just say thank you. When I saw it this evening, I was very, very surprised. We really feel proud to be associated with this whole exercise.
Well, I've got to ask, what's your favorite car here between Ferrari, BMW, Mercedes, AMG, Porsche? I mean, what is your pick?
I'm a BMW fan. I love that M4. It's such a beautiful car to drive. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's just, you know, I think anybody can climb in that car and be rather quick. And I think it's standing out here. You can see it. It's definitely standing out here this evening. And I think the car is very well, like Daniel said, it's probably very well suited. And I mean, the suspension on this one and the Mercedes-Benz, probably the best cars for this kind of track. And I see it definitely shows. Well,
you're not going to quite like me because I think the BMW that's currently racing has got the beaver teeth in the front. But Besson going and fighting it out with Charles Dodden. And Charles tried going for Tianus Bertha, lost out the drive. But Anton Lammers also getting involved into the fight. Werner Skuman closing. So the gap is starting to close down. So far, fastest lap time of the race has been set by Jamie Rees, doing a 1 minute 41.9, which is quicker than Domingo, who's actually invalidates his last lap time of 41.945, which would have been the quickest. But due to going track limits, that's going to hurt as we go right back to 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, all within earshot of one another and really pushing the boundaries at this point. I mean, Tianus Bertha has got a mirror full of Ferraris, Mercedes, all just chasing him down and having to try and figure out what's going to be the advantage here. Anton Lammers is all over the back of Besson ahead of him, and Besson, who's just trying to push that little bit more, trying to get one step further, now seeing the big mighty Mercedes chasing him down while he goes and battles it out after Darden ahead. Charles has not been the easiest to catch at the moment, favoring that more of a tighter line, but seems to be a little bit more hooked up. Then a little bit further back, just give a bit of love to the guys at the back, is the Porsche of AJ de Kock. He's onto the back of Jean Viviers, who's really sliding the Ferrari around, gets the corner wrong, and that's going to allow AJ de Kock to say thank you very much, up on the inside and send it. The 992 Porsche managing just to eke out ahead, under braking, and No problems indeed. Werner Skuman right onto the back of Anton Lammers as they fight their way through. But Anton Lammers getting a little bit slow out the corners has cost him time. And that's allowed Werner Skuman and the likes of Gavin to get right onto the back of him as they head into the charge. You can see Werner is not giving up. Gavin, who is that wild card, has been given a second chance, and he is going to utilize every bit of it at this point as he gets a little bit over the curb, loses out the time, and loses out to Werner Skuman, who's keeping nice and neatly in the toe. Gets side by side, hard under braking, side by side into this chicane. Not an easy thing. Anton Lammers goes over the curb and loses out one position. Gavin tries to go side by side with him, just not able to get the straight line, but is within the toe. Now heading into Variante 1. Will he be able to dive up on the inside? Looks for it, backs out of it. Chooses he's not going to get involved in that fight. Anton Lammers just narrowly keeping it going as he makes his way around the circuit. But I mean, this is incredibly close racing between them. And this is going to be one for the ages. Even if you are at the back of the field or whether you're at the front, like Issam Domingo, who put in the fastest lap time, doing a 41.6. Remember, his lap time in the race was a 41.4, which he's trying to beat out, as he has got Jamie Rees all over the back of him. You got Henrik Sikkers in third place. Fourth place, Tennis Buertha. Charles Darden in fifth, and sixth is Leclerc Basson chasing him down. But it does look like Anton Lammers has slowed up a little bit. That has allowed Gavin to get by and really cost him some time, because AJ Cox now got on to the back of him and is closing down the distance as well. I mean, this is where it comes into. It's all the pride of clawing your way through and who will be able to get the checkered flag at the end. But I mean, all the drivers have really put in a huge amount of work. And come the end of this race, well, I've got to say well done to every single one of them for sticking it out. But I do want to go and call me a little bit onto the favorite one here, Conrad Martin, because you got 15 minutes of the race. You've had a drive-through penalty. You're 33.3 seconds behind. Chances of catching up is very slim. But to go and decide that you're going to keep your foot in it, you're going to keep going, you're going to see it through to the end, despite the odds against you, well, mad respect, Conrad Martin. One mistake, but to keep it going, I take my hat off to you, because many people would park it off to the side. So, a little bit of favoritism there, but that's my take into it. Rather see it through, as we see Tianus Buertha dealing with Charles trying to outbrake him, but Tianus Buertha was a little bit slower there as they make their way around. That's allowed Leclerc Basson to get right behind him. Leclerc trying to look for the inside line, backs out of it, tight into the toe, and really trying to keep it going. But I've got to point out to both Andries and Daniel Rowe, because I'm going to say this and you'll never get it through your head. If you look at the back of the car of the Ferrari, it does look like a Dino Ferrari if you look at it. Just a more modern take on a Dino Ferrari.
I'll take your word for that. But it does look...
I personally think it's got a little bit of the older shape to it.
Maybe that's the only way they could make it a little bit quicker.
Yeah, that's it.
Reflect on the older ones, you know.
Yeah, the ones that worked.
The ones that worked.
Domingo not running ahead as Jamie Rees managed to close down the gap. Now, this is where we wanted to see a battle, as Domingo and Rees, who managed to pull away through the field, they managed to put a 3.7 second gap to third place, now in a race with one another, and coming in with 0.4 of it, so both in the same car. No advantages in terms of BOP. Both having the same amount of practice, both having the same amount of mentorship, now putting it down to use at this point as we watch both Domingo and Rees gonna battle it out heading into turn one. You can see Rees just going a little bit late on the brakes, outbrakes himself, and I mean, this is where you're trying to modulate your braking. You trying to, instead of using 50% of the brake, you're trying to go for maybe that 45%, but you carry that extra 1.5 kilometers too quick into the corner. So let's see how this is going to work as we head a little bit further down, as we hear from Jim saying halfway through the race, keep pushing. He has just notified all the drivers, and every single one now is going to be putting the hammer down, knowing that this is it. They into the final 12 minutes and 11 seconds. Ulrich Sickers in third place. Fourth place, Tiernis Bertha. Fifth place is Charles Darden. Leclerc Besson has got Werner Skuman all over the back of him. Werner trying to go for the inside line, not able to do it just as yet. You can see Gavin trying to close down behind them as Werner goes off. Leclerc goes off. Both of them have darted off the circuit. What on earth happened? Let's go on to the helicam. Tim in the helicam as they make their way through. Besson and Skuman pushing, and you can see Skuman has closed down onto the back of Besson, really doing everything he can to get a little bit more drive. Dives up on the inside, gets some momentum, goes on the outside. Oh, just unfortunate contact between the two. Both are able to keep it out of the wall, but both have lost valuable positions. Werner managing to straighten himself out, but losing out 3 positions on that run. But, I mean, when you're running so close, accidents do happen. I do want to point out that Werner did return the position back to Leclerc, saying, sorry buddy, let him go, and they would rather go fighting out. So hats off to doing that, but has cost them all valuable time in that race. And there's going to be a couple of drivers with a big smile on their face. They are able to keep it going. Issam Domingo in first place. Werner Skuman has got a 10-second penalty slapped onto him as well for that. And that's going to really put the sting in it. That is for sure. Jamie Rees in second place, trying to close down the gap. Andre Sichers in third. Fourth is Tiernis Bertha. Charles Darden. Gavin Skirton. Anton Lammers has got AJ de Kock onto the back of him. And, I mean, Anton Lammers and AJ de Kock, who started further behind, are now in a race. If we take a look at who's gained the most, Charles Darden has gained 2 positions from his start. He started in 7th. He's now in 5th. Then we've got Gavin, who's up 2 positions from where he started. He started in 8th. Now he's in 6th. AJ de Kock, just want to point out, started in last. He was in 12th and has gained 4 positions to move himself up into 8th place. He's got Sean Viviers, who goes and loses it. Viviers loses it. And this is turning from drama to drama as they make their way through. As Murray Walker would go and point out, drama, drama, drama out there at Imola as they maneuver their way around. But Domingo has got Jamie Rees all over the back of him. Jamie not going and relenting at this point, constantly hounding, looking for the outside line. 9 minutes to go though, and it's all on for the cards, because remember, these two are racing for 3,000 Rand cash. Second place will get 2,000, but I mean, walking away with that type of money, well, that does help add a bit of fuel in the car to get you to work and back more than once, that's for certain, or to run the generator when the power goes out. So these two are on a monstrous charge for first and second. Domingo doing everything he can, trying to hold down his position, but losing out fractions of a second every single time. Jamie Rees, though, last lap, 41.9, where the likes of Domingo did a 1:42.0. So we're talking about a tenth of a second between these two in terms of lap times, and it's just going to be it's going to be a monster fight right the way through, but it is going to be one for the ages between these two. So Jamie Rees trying to make up a little bit more time, 0.7 of a second behind. A little bit further back though, battling for 7th and 8th place is Anton Lammers and AJ de Kock. AJ de Kock getting into the toe, really trying to pull himself along, looks for the inside line. Porsche not able to do it just as yet, as Lammers managing to utilize the Mercedes to run over the curbs, being a little bit more stable, but de Kock managing to get the drive out of Variante 2, now is in the toe, getting himself pulled along And now it looks for the inside line. Going to back out of it. Going to keep into the toe. Not going to show the cards just as yet. Knows he's got no threat behind him. Going to go for the inside line. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Runs over the curb. Backs out of it. Anton Lummers just narrowly holding the position at this point. And I mean, this is where it gets a little bit of a scary situation, because it's just that moment of pushing the limit and how far are you willing to go? How much are you willing to risk it to hold on to the biscuit as they slide their way through? Anton Lummers just managing to keep it all together. AJ de Kock running out wide is going to try and utilize as much straight line as possible. Charging up the hill, Anton Lummers is going to have the advantage into the corner, but it does look like AJ de Kock managing to get by and opening up the distance between them. So absolutely phenomenal driving from that little battle going on. But as we jump back up to the front, Issam Domingo and Jamie Rees still in a monstrous fight as they battle it out. Werner Skuman, though, in 9th place, got 10-second penalty on top of him, and that's going to drop him down to 11th. I don't think he's going to lose out to the likes of Conrad Martin unless something goes wrong, but 10 seconds to open up between himself and Basson, that is right behind him, is going to be no easy feat as our drivers make their way through. Domingo doing a 42.08 along with Jamie Rees doing a 42.2 as they slide their way through, really running the traction control as low as it can go to make it keep it all together. So yeah, this is going to be one for the ages. So our drivers now making their way around the circuit as they slide their way through Sufford. Seems like there is a bit of a difficulty going on. Hopefully it's managed to sort it out a little bit. Jamie Rees just keeping the pressure onto the back of Domingo, who is fighting out 0.3 of a second between these drivers. And now it is an outright charge to the line. 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Prize money, prizes, pride, mentorship, all on the line. So much to gamble for. And it's, if you're going to go for it, you best make it stick. Because one mistake will make or break the race, as we've seen in the beginning stages of this race. So once again, do apologize for the stutter that we had. It seems like there was a little bit of an issue. At the moment, Issam Domingo in first place, along with Jamie Rees, Heinrich Sichers, Tiernis Bertha, Charles Darden, Gavin Scruton, AJ de Kock, Anton Lummers, Leclerc Basson, Werner Skuman, who's still got that 10-second penalty, is only 5 seconds ahead of Jean Vivier. So Jean at the moment is in 10th place. And then we've got Conrad Martin, who I just want to point out was 33 seconds behind everyone, has done a drive-through, has managed to close down the gap to 11th place to 19 seconds. So, you know, well done, Conrad. Great drive there, buddy. 42.4. Can't argue with that one. Domingo, though, putting in a 42.1 as... Oh, sorry, let me get this one right. 42.117. While Jamie Rees did a 42.172. I mean, we're talking a 10th of a second, if not less, every single lap between these two. Heinrich Sichers actually was quicker than both of them, doing a 42.015. I mean, he's in 3rd place and is on the charge, seeing these two BMWs keeping each other busy. With only 1 minute and 57 seconds left of this race here at Imola for the Road to Pro, brought to you by EG, Evolved Simulator Rigs, Hybrid Academy, and RaceFace. It is all on the cards for every single one of these drivers. And I've got to say, I'm proud to call myself an AM driver, seeing the caliber of drivers that started off like me at the back end of the field, now showing off as they're on the road to becoming a pro right here. tonight. This is going to be jump-starting their sim racing careers for South African esports. That is for certain. But through the field, we cannot take it away as Domingo comes across the line. Leader is on the final lap. So, Issam Domingo in first place. Jamie Rees, 1 second behind. Andre Sichers, 3.6 seconds behind. Tiernas Bertha, Charles Darden, Gavin Skirton. They are in the top 6. They are in it for the money. AJ de Kock, Anton Lammers, Leclerc Basson, Werner Skuman, who is in a net 11th place at the moment. Jean Viviers is in a net 10th. And then Conrad Martin, 17.2 seconds behind. But the race is on at the front. Remember, 3,000 Rand on the line here, ladies and gentlemen. Pride, glory, mentorship. So much is on the cards. And this is where you're going to feel that left foot starting to shake on the brake pedal. You start getting that shake, that uncontrollable weighting as you maneuver your way through. You have got 18 corners to make it stick. They are through Aquamarali. Turn 13 to turn 14. 0.4 of a second. Jamie Rees is running out of time. Issam Domingo wants to fold in the mirrors at the moment and make that BMW disappear into oblivion. The last thing he wants to see is Jamie right behind him. And this is going to be a charge. One of our closest fights that we have seen, coming right down to the wire. Domingo carrying the momentum. Rees down, losing it out. A little bit of pace. Domingo gets it sideways, so compromises his drive. Rees has got the toe. Side by side. 0.1. Who's going to get it coming to the line? And it's Domingo taking first place. Rees taking second place. Gavin, though, losing out the drive. And has dropped his way down. He was in 6th. He's dropped his way into 9th place. And there it is. He just went and lost it, unfortunately. And trying to get it all pivoted back on the circuit to carry on with the race. Was in 6th. He drops his way into 9th right at the last. Losing out. I mean, that is just compromising. But the race for first was separated by 0.1 of a second between Jamie Rees and Domingo. Andre Sichers taking 3rd place, 4th going to Tiernas Bertha, 5th Charles Darden, AJ de Kock in 6th, Anton Lammers in 7th, 8th Leclerc Basson, Gavin Skirton, Werner Skuman, Jean Viviers and Conrad Martin rounding out the field. Skuman getting 40 seconds at the end of it. Wow. Was that a race? I'm sure I'm out of breath on that one. That is for certain. And yeah, taking a look in the commentary box here. Andres, you've had me shouting in your ears. Not only just art on YouTube, but also being in the commentary box. But 0.1 of a second between first
awesome
and second place.
How awesome was that? It was so lovely to see that. Such a close race. I just quite enjoyed that piece.
What a race. What a race.
I'm blown back by that. I mean, we saw fantastic racing through the field, and right down to the wire. It was still open cards for everyone. But Ryan Ottens, Daniel Rowe, I mean, from a pro's perspective, what we just witnessed, there's no other way to say it other than that was legendary.
Yeah, I think a massive well done to Domingo and Rees. I mean, they put on an absolute awesome show. Proper pace. They kept their heads cool. So unbelievable race there. That was very cool. So well done.
Yeah, I'm taken back by it. But we're actually gonna have a chat to the guys And I see we got Charles Darden, so let's see if we can get Charles Darden. AJ de Kock is actually let's bring AJ de Kock as they all come rushing in. They're all excited because they want to know where they come. So let's bring in AJ de Kock. AJ de Kock, welcome to the commentary box. And buddy, 6th place overall, walking away with 400 Rand. But it wasn't looking like a 6th place was on the card, and then all of a sudden, bang, you're there.
Hi, Stephen. Thanks for having me. I mean, I basically made some mistakes in my qualifying, unfortunately. So starting from the back's not the easiest thing. But yeah, I'm really happy. My first decent result starting from the back. So yeah, quite a good experience, but super fun, and happy with the result.
Well, I mean, AJ, I've got to ask, because we are making the interviews a bit quicker, but the whole process with starting the road to pro, brought to you by EG Evolved Simulator Rigs Hybrid Academy. I mean, this whole process that has come up till now, what's your takeaway on this? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I have to say, I think it's quite awesome. So me, myself, literally started sim racing about 3 months ago as a hobby, and completed my first RaceFace.Pro season this last season. And when the opportunity came up to, you know, learn new things from the HA guys, super awesome opportunity, learned a lot. I think it's a really good initiative, and I hope to see a lot more of these type of events coming in the future for new guys starting out, same as me.
And if you can take away one moment out of essentially 9 weeks, if you could take away one moment as the highlight moment for the entire road to pro, what will it be?
That will definitely be my first ever podium on Monza. So yeah, no, definitely. I think that was the key moment where I could kind of see that the work that we've been putting in is starting to pay off. So definitely worth it.
And yeah,
well done, AJ. From our side, I mean, brilliant race there. The fact that you kept your head calm, considering a mistake in quali and all the way through to 6. So well done, man.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. And thanks for you, Stephen, and for all the viewers tuning in. It's been an awesome event, and yeah, well done, guys.
well, definitely on the road to pro, and we'll keep an eye out for the name. But walking away with 400 Rand, 6th place, that's nothing to sneeze at. Well done, AJ de Kock, on a fantastic race. All right, so with 6th place out the way, let's move into 5th, and we've got Charles Darden. Charles, how's it, buddy? 5th place overall, walking away with $500, and well, what a race it was for you. How are you feeling on this?
I'm feeling great. This whole event was amazing. I loved it so much. Yeah, thanks to Ryan, Andries, Daniel, Justin, yeah, all the hybrid guys. This was epic. I had so much fun.
And I mean, this race was a challenging thing. The whole 9 weeks was a challenge, a learning, and becoming, you know, on the road to pro. If you could take a highlight out of the entire process, this whole road to pro, brought to you by EG Evolved Simulator Rigs Hybrid Academy, if you could take a single moment, what would it be?
So there was a moment in the season where it sort of clicked for me, if you want to call it that. You know, we were doing training every Sunday, and I think it was the 4th or 5th Sunday. I can't remember what Sunday that was. Ryan took me aside and we did some one-on-one training, and there were so many things that I didn't even notice about my driving and the mistakes that I was making. And he sort of very calmly explained to me what I was doing wrong and how to fix it. And then I went back and I looked at my replay. And then almost immediately after that, I was able to go like a half a second quicker, which was insane for me. So that was a great moment for me. And I want to say thank you to Ryan for that training. And for the whole season, the training was amazing. So yeah, that was awesome. Thank you very much.
Well done, Charles. Great race out there. 5th place. And what a race it was. We're really looking forward to it on your road to pro.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Like it, Charles. Well done.
So with Charles out the way, let's move on to Mr. Consistency himself. Let's bring in Tiernas Bertha. Tiernas Bertha, buddy, pal, amigo, what a race of note, and Avoidance in Heat 2 has managed to lock down that 4th place. How are you feeling walking away with 850 Rand and a whole lot learnt over the course of these 9 weeks?
How's it? Feels great, eh? Yeah, epic racing. A lot of time put in. And I just want to thank Windows for screwing up my PC. I had an update just before the race, and I lost all my sound. So now I have to go figure out what's going on with my sound. So with that, it was absolutely amazing. But
so you were just running on the dash. That's essentially what you do. Follow the lights until it changes gear.
That is correct. I've got some sound through my that goes through the screen, and I've got my mic working on my headset, but no sound through the headset. So yeah, and something that small with a race this big throws you off quite a lot.
No, absolutely amazing. And I've got to ask, if you could take away a highlight out of this entire road to pro, I know it's a very difficult ask, what would it be that you can take a highlight out of for the entire road to pro that you've just gone through?
Well, look, just from the guys from Hybrid. I mean, they're a bunch of great guys. I do speak to them a lot, but when you actually sit down with them and you're like, listen guys, I need time in sector 3, and they go through everything with you, and I mean, I can actually take the chicane in sector 3 with a Ferrari. That I thought that was not possible. I thought it was something that the fairies made up, but it's actually possible, and doing better times each and every time I go out. My personal best on Imola was 41.4, and just by practicing each and every day. So just a one-on-one with the guys from Hybrid, it's just been great. The racing as well. The last race screwed up in a chicane, and I had Darden right on me, and I thought, listen, you're not going to pass me, so let me try get out underneath you, and I just put my head down and go.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Thank you so much, Tiernas Bertha. Finishing up in 4th place. Well done. So before we move on to our final 3, I've just, it's been rather quick. I know I haven't let you guys chat, but just listening to the feedback so far, Andres from EG Evolved Simulator Rigs, just listening to the guys talking about their experiences before we even bring in the top 3, before we even get into that, what's your takeaway on it so far, just hearing it?
Well, like I said earlier, this is just the beginning of it, and to see the excitement and the amount of learnings that's taken place and the amount of growth that these guys seen and experienced for themselves. This is exactly what we set down to do. And, for me, that means a lot. It means what we're trying to do here works. The effort that was put in, and most of the work was put in by the Hybrid team, and I can't thank them enough. They initially just executed on an idea, on a vision, and for me, it's just it's so much energy that I get back from these guys to think about more stuff, better things, bigger things, to do to help this community and uplift the community. That's pretty much what I'm driven, and the feedback is awesome.
Absolutely. I can't wait. But Ryan Otten's, Daniel Rowe, before we move on to our final three, I'm sure you guys are sitting with a little bit of a tear in the eye listening to the stories of just the little moments that you may have thought nothing of it, but seeing how much of a difference it makes in the lives of the different drivers. I'm sure there's a little bit of a heart in the throat moment for you guys, being the teachers and seeing the growth from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, okay, go, Dan, go.
No, I just wanted to say, congratulations to all the guys for competing and taking the time, and thanks to all the guys in our team, and thanks to Andries and EG Evolve for partnering with us to do this. And I know Ryan and Bager and Justin have been putting in a lot of effort from an admin point of view. And I mean, we didn't even know how this was going to turn out as a first time for us. But yeah, we believe in the vision, and we know how much it will mean to the community. So, and I think it's worked out really, really well.
I think that's echoing the words of the rest of the team as well. So let's bring in third place, and let's bring in Anrich Sichers, third place, 1,250 Rand in the pocket. How are you feeling after that, buddy?
Oh, that's not bad at all. Yeah, no, I had a good BMW show in front of me. And yeah, I didn't realize the nerves were gonna get me tightened up as it did. But yeah, glad I kept it on the track for the 25 minutes. So all in all, a bit sweaty, but yeah, feels good to be on podium.
I mean, that's incredible stuff. You really kept a consistent effort, and hopefully I got your name right. I know that was one of the things that we spoke about early. You went and told me, and I possibly forgot halfway through. But
No worries.
if you can think of a single moment through this 9-week process that you can take home and put in a frame, what will it be for you on this road to pro process?
I think definitely, I don't know, something clicked at Barcelona, the week of Barcelona. I remember the guys giving us a few tools to just install and use, give a bit of field of view recommendations, and then one of the guys slipped me a setup which really helped, and I've like shaved, I don't know, I think it was almost second and a half of my PB, and something just told me this is definitely working. So yeah, I'd probably say Barcelona. It's been an amazing start to this whole thing. So I'll say that's my moment, yeah.
That was the moment that clicked. Absolutely incredible. And third place, 1,250 Rand. Go and enjoy. Go drink some soda. You really, really deserve it. Even have a chocolate milkshake on me. I think that's going to be the best one.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
well done on the third place. Great stuff. So
Awesome, thanks.
now we move on to the big stuff. I'm excited. You guys are excited. Everyone at home is excited. Let's bring in second place. And that goes to Jamie Reese. Jamie Reese, second place, lost out by 0.1 of a second, but still walking away with 2,000 Rand in the bank. And one of the quickest lap times that we've seen out on circuit. How are you feeling after tonight, buddy?
Well, I guess, sweating a lot. It was a very, very tough race with Domingo up front. He was super quick. But yeah, no, it was a very sweatful race. Cannot say that. But as it wouldn't have been possible without the guys from Hybrid. Like, if I have to look at myself now, 6 months back, I would think it's impossible what I'm doing now. It's been a real honor to have them as coaching, offering up their time and everything for us. So, it's been good.
Yeah, well done, Jamie. I mean, you put on a good show tonight. You had pace. You kept calm. You pulled back a gap to Domingo a few times. So you really have come a long way. And again, none of that's just because of us, eh? You guys, especially you've been putting in the most amount of time. I mean, you've been in that rig, breaking pedals, changing things week in, week out, and I mean that shows why you're at the front here. So well done to you as well.
Thank you very much.
Well, Jamie, I've asked the difficult question to people, and the same question. If you can take a moment through this entire process and frame it, just one moment that really changed it up for you, what will it be from your experiences from start till now on your road to becoming a pro?
So the one I would want to frame would be the Auckland Park race, where I took first, but unfortunately had a slight little race incident, so I had a penalty for that, but still great racing I had there. And I think since then, something like just started making sense, even though the BMW has been a real struggle for me this whole season, and it's taken me a lot of time to understand the car, get used to it. People say it's an easy car. I totally disagree. It's a very difficult car. We had a slight break now with Imola because it's just this car. It's very, very strong on this track. So, but yeah, no, it would have been the Auckland Park race.
It's absolutely incredible stuff, and well done. Honors, well-deserved second place, and so close to first, but we will be seeing you on the pro grid chasing down our pros very, very soon. I can put my hand on this table and say, remember the name, folks. Jamie Rees is coming for you. That's
for sure. That's for sure.
Well done, buddy.
Thank you.
So with Jamie done and dusted, let's bring in the man that came in first. The man that eked it out at the last. Taking 2 for 2. Issam Domingo. With people actually saying, go Domingo in the chats. How are you feeling after that? 0.1 of a second was the separation between you and second place, and walking away with 3,000 Rand in the pocket, and just wow, what a performance out there.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. You can't even imagine. You should see the smile on my face. It was really close though.
We can hear the smile on your face.
Yeah, no, it was really close. I mean, Jamie really put the pressure, and it wasn't for 1 lap or 2 laps. It was the entire race. He was waiting for me to make a mistake. I mean, I made a mistake in the last lap on the last turn, and it almost cost me. But I'm just glad I came out with the win. And yeah, I'm just excited, man.
Honestly, I can hear the tears starting to well up, just, with everything. I mean, let's go back a little bit here. You started out in gold. You were racing. You're trying to get to the grips with everything. You joined in with this Road to Pro with EG, Evolved, Simulator Rigs, Hybrid Academy. I mean, this all came together in association with them, and on the RaceFace servers, you went racing, putting in those impressive lap times, getting faster and faster, putting in the effort. And Jamie put the pressure on you when it came to this, but when the chips were down, when it was all said and done, you've managed to cross the line. And as many people say, there's only first place. Second is first to the losers, but you managed to get there. You've managed to eke it out to it. If you could take a highlight of everything, this entire season, of learning, growing, and, well, you're going to continue to grow on your road to becoming a pro. That's for certain. If you could take a highlight and put it in a frame, what would be the highlight for you?
All right, so look, it's a very, I would say, unique story. Or maybe some guys have a similar story, but when I started out at RaceFace a year ago, I was competing with a Xbox controller. So yeah, it wasn't always fun. I got into a lot of incidents, but as you say, you learn along the way, and I've learned a lot. And yeah, highlight definitely has to be today. Today, for me, was that proof that, I am one of the top contenders, because I really thought in the beginning of the season, like, I would make it maybe top 5. For me to end the season in RaceFace second place, I was so happy. But I still had some unfinished business with Andrich and Jamie, and yeah, we put it all on the track tonight, and it was so much fun. I'm really glad I came out with the win, and I just want to say thank you to EG Evolved, Hybrid Academy guys, Ryan Ottens, you helped me a lot. I'm so grateful. Justin Lotus for personally DMing me to join this academy. I'm so grateful. I've really grown as a driver, and I look forward to, as you say, possibly becoming a pro driver in this industry. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, man. Thank you guys so much.
Well, I'm gonna just say here before we get everyone to say their words, but I think it's not might be on the road to pro. You are definitely on the fast track to it, and in front of 300 views on both the Hybrid Academy YouTube side and the RaceFace YouTube side. 300 views and more. Just saw you take the checkered flag on this road to pro. If that doesn't tell you that you've got it, and to come from an Xbox controller till now, my friend, I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, because you know what? You're going to be representing South Africa one day. And this moment right now is going to be one that I think you're going to show off to your kids. But when you're representing South Africa, remember the little guys as well, hey?
Yeah, one day. Thank you so much, Steven.
Yeah, well done, Domingo. Very, very good race from you. I'm glad to see how you've improved over the season. So, taking in all the advice given. So, well done, man. Done very, very well.
Thank you, man.
I think from my side, well done. I think you really did show off big time this evening. The kind of feedback that you're giving us here is exactly what I personally wanted. I see some of the guys here on the stream say you making them tear up. I kind of almost move into that kind of level as well, where I become a little bit more emotional about stuff. In this time of my life, and seeing the change that's happening is exactly what I want. This is just the beginning, my man. You're gonna go far if you put your mind and effort into this thing. You really can go very far. And I would just be glad to one day say, well, I was part of that start. So well done, man.
Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it, Ryan.
Here's some Domingo. Go and enjoy a chocolate milkshake, buddy.
Thanks,
You
man. I just want
deserved
to give one last shout out to my Project Vapor boys for sticking by my side and always pushing me. They also, they were a big help this season and with this final race as well. So thank you guys so much.
Maybe you can help
Awesome.
Andre go and fix the color scheme on the pink Mercedes as well.
Now, we're coming with something fresh next season. Just watch out.
Thank you very
Lekker.
much. Yes, wow. I mean, we can go on with the list with the drivers all chain, but I mean, everything's running a bit to it. The stories, though, is just mind-blowing in terms of what guys were able to. I mean, you guys from Hybrid Academy, RaceFace, EG Evolved Simulators have just really moved it through. I mean, from my side, Andres, you arrived on the scene like a bomb. You turned the whole thing. You've elevated the game. You've really pushed competition and also really pushed for guys to improve their hobbyist rigs to get those one up on one another, to get into this and to be part of something that is building the future generations, the future drivers that will be representing the likes of South Africa come overseas. Well, I'm very, very proud to say that there's going to be a EG Evolved Simulators rigs all being part of that and will continue to be a part of that in the future. That is for certain. Daniel Rowe, Ryan Ottens, I know you two are here, but the rest of your team, Justin Lotus, Bago, Krobler, I mean, the list can go on. To the entire Hybrid Academy team, guys, what you've managed to do with going and creating this, to go and really put your name out there and really take on a challenge to grow, train, and show off the AM drivers that's usually just forgotten about in the wings. You guys have taught, and we got to see some incredible talent tonight that I can't wait. Come the future championships with RaceFace, I can't wait to see them on the grid. And no offense, Ryan Ottens, I think your sprint championship crown is in jeopardy for this one. And
No. We made them sign the T's and C's that said when they beat us, then they're done.
I mean, it's incredible stuff to it. But yeah, in closing, Andres, is there anything that you would like to say from your part, from EG Evolved Simulators, being a part of this whole event?
Stephen, thanks a lot. I think I've said it already this evening, but Daniel and Ryan and the rest of the team really did a sterling job here. A vision became reality, and the feedback is just confirmation that what we set out to do is successfully achieved here. And I have to just thank these guys for doing that. I will be happy to support where I can going forward. I really want to impact people's lives. I'm exploring opportunity to even see if we can start this at school level. So big plans ahead. Really looking forward to working with a team like this to enable a lot of my thinking and my dreams. And it's just be great to be part of this whole first effort. And we had no idea what we let ourselves into when we started this, and I think we learned a lot. But this is great. I really have to thank Daniel and Ryan for hearing me out initially when we had those first few beers.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Ryan Ottens, anything from your side that you would like to say in closing?
Yeah, I think someone who hasn't had any limelight shone on them, who deserves it, is definitely Bertus and Hunty. RaceFace have opened their doors to us without us even really asking, and they've put up all the servers, and Hansi and Bertus have had us constantly messaging saying our server's down, put our server up, change this, change that. So a huge thanks to them as well, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who really created this community. So we're just a part of it, and we're just trying to add to it. So huge thanks to them. Obviously, Andries and EG, you know, massive thanks. I've said it, and I'll carry on saying it. They're the best in the business. And then just to Hybrid as well, you know, we're a close-knit team, like a brotherhood, and we were all, to be fair, a little nervous taking on this challenge and taking on this task, and no one knew what to expect. No one knew where to even start, to be honest. And it's quite nice for this to be done, if I must say, because it was scary, and now that it's done and it's happened quite smoothly, I'm proud to be a part of it. So yeah, well done to the Hybrid guys for putting this on, and obviously yourself for the help with the stream, because we definitely can't do what you do. So thank you, and yeah, thanks to the drivers at the end of the day. Without them, none of this is possible. So the guys that signed up and took the leap with us, you know, that's a massive help, because if we only had 2 signups, we can't create these things if we have 2 signups. So they leaped into it, you know, and helped us achieve what we have today. So yeah, thanks to pretty much everyone.
Well, and the man of few words that pleaded the fifth when we asked him the very difficult question come Heat 3, the final heat. Daniel Rowe, anything from your side in closing?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan touched on pretty much everything there, especially RaceFace for assisting us and helping us to, you know, to put the cherry on top with finalizing the whole event. But yeah, we have to thank Andries and EG again for partnering with us and helping us to achieve this, because it's not possible without someone like him and his generosity and everything that comes with it. So, and then you know, obviously thank you to our guys in our team. I think we all pulled together where we could, and obviously a big thank you to Ryan. I think someone specifically in our team that took this whole thing by the horns, and yeah, then we all came together and made it work, and it's been a great success. And well done to all the competitors. And thank you to you for commentating for us. Great job. Thank you.
I just talk nonsense. That's all it is. Talk enough nonsense, people can't find the right direction. But no, honestly, it's really been an honor in this event. A big shout out to everyone involved, EG Evolve Simulator Rigs, Hybrid Academy, RaceFace. Big thank you to all our sponsors making this possible. Also, a big thank you to you guys, the drivers, the teams, the spectators, the family members that put in all the support and going and cheering out in the comments. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button along with the bell notification icon to go and see these guys on the road to pro, and keep an eye out on the social media for Hybrid Academy and EG Evolved Simulator Rigs for all the up and coming, not only on who's going to be joining the team, but who is going to be moving forward on their road to pro, and what's coming out here in South Africa, because there is so much going on in the world of sim racing in South Africa. Be careful, rest of the world, because we're coming for you guys, and we're going to definitely walk home with all the trophies. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Stephen Koenig. Big thank you to Andries from EG Evolve Simulator Rigs for dealing with me, Daniel Rowe and Ryan Ottens for joining me in the commentary booth as well. But we'll see you guys next time. Same place, same time, and a whole lot more fun, because there's plenty of racing coming in the future. I would like to say a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.